Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. He says, moving the microphone. I hope you are all very well. Sorry, I was a little bit delayed tonight. Let me just. I had a few last-minute technical issues there, so I've knocked the quality of the stream down to 720 from 1080s just to make sure it's good. It looked fine, but it was saying that the stream status was only good and not excellent, and I'm not used to that. So I'd rather have slightly less quality and make sure that it works okay. So yes, hello folks, how are you doing? Let me have a look in the live chat, not the top chat, and we'll see who we've got in tonight. So we certainly had, if I can just, because I've got it on this screen as well, we had a few earlier on. Marcus the Super Pumpkin Man was in nice and earlier on. Hello mate, how are you doing? Peter Kuhlman, Lord Maiden, hello to you too. Ortega, hello in the rerun fella, I hope you're well. Let me just scroll down here as well, make sure everything is well. 6 in the head says lighting is a bit bright, need my sunglasses. Yeah, we're still playing with some stuff here. We'll get used to it. We'll get it better. I won't change it while we're doing it. I might change it in a bit because it is a bit bright actually. Right, where are we up to? Tony Howell, hello to you, mate. Mark Wright, good evening, fella. Hope you're well as well. He said he's been painting Victory at Sea starter set. Jill saying good evening to everybody as well. Vijay saying heading out on his run, should be back before the stream starts. Krabby says evening all. He says hope everyone is well too. He's painting but he's listening along. Nice one. Warwick says I really like her machine guns on this art. Yeah, the artwork on the front, the kind of like the female sort of soldier, if you like, is from Defiance, which is Corvus Belli's Infinity based like dungeon crawler game. Ice Moon, good evening to you, sir. Palmsy saying hope everybody is healthy and wealthy. I'm neither. I'm kind of healthy and yeah, wealthy, nah, not really. Tasty Brain Drain, good evening to you, mate, as well. Derek Hodge says evening all on a horrible wet day. It has been. Let me just move the microphone a bit. It started off as a nice morning. Me and the family went for a little bit of breakfast, sitting outdoors, and then it's absolutely thumped it down the rest of the day. Blizzard says hiddly ho hobby hooligans. Easy for you to say, mate. Tasty Brain Train says he's looking forward to this stream. So for those I was just reading Palmsy's note there. For those of you who don't know what tonight's about, there's a lot of sci-fi stuff seems to be releasing at the moment. So I thought we just take a look at some sci-fi games. I've got some kind of sort of some slide type sort of website stuff to look at as well. I'll share that with you, which is why I was just wanted to make sure the stream and everything was working okay, because it's been testing fine all day, and then of course just as I was about to go, I was like looking at the stuff and I was thinking I'm better off knocking the quality down a touch for tonight's stream while I'm still getting things set up. Where are we up to here? Peter says, and so we wait. Yeah, like I see a few technical issues. Tony Howell, good evening to you, mate. Good evening, Christian. Jill Monroe says, right back from cleaning up cat sick. Sounds lovely. Safe to say, evening is going to get better, right? Well, it can't get any worse, let's be honest. Spanky Tarzan says, where are you buggers? Good evening, everybody. Good evening to Yorkham as well. He's listening and painting zombies and skeletons. Tony Howell's painting doggies. Spanky Tarzan says, get the pre-show likes in, you slackers. You can always change your mind if he's worse than usual. James Bray, good evening to you. Lazy Pirate Painting, good evening. Welcome to the chat. Peter says, I never vote before the start in case he doesn't show. I always show, you cheeky monkey. James says, I almost got blown away walking to my hobby room. The weather is wild out there. I could hear it before, like lashing against the doors and stuff. Yeah, not nice. Good evening, Claudio. Hope you're well, fella. Mark Corley as well. Painting these Orc boys at the start of a new Orc Crusade force. Very nice. Getting ready for some new Orc figures getting announced this week, I'd imagine. Peter said, I'm glad I got a bike ride in early. It was nice this morning. Like I say, we sat outside and had some breakfast in like an outdoor sort of seating area. And it was a little bit chilly, but we had a coat on and stuff. But yeah, it's thumped it down the rest of the day. John Estel, good evening to you, mate. Finishing off his horde of goblins. Spanky Tarzan, I vote to have 5 parsecs added to the video thumbnail. It's a bit late now, mate. Claudio says, yeah, get out the 5 parsecs cruise. We might mention 5 parsecs in a bit, to be fair. Marcus is putting fighting dealers on a random sci-fi mini right now. Christian says, is that a candle? Did you see that in the on the screen? Oh yeah, there it is, mate. Yeah, I've just moved it. It's just for a nice smell, mate. It just smells nice, quite calming. Where are we up to there? There we were again. Peter Stockdale, hello to you, mate. Well, the Nalwick? 5 parsecs reporting for duty. Jez Hunt, good evening. Low Mid says the background's changed a bit. Yeah, I've got some stuff kind of hung on the walls now. The Darth Vader helmet was always behind me. It was just always pretty much right behind me, so you never really saw it. But yeah, I'm kind of showing it off now. Yeah. Fast Panda Gaming, hello to you, mate. Let's have a look, see who else. It says lighting's a bit bright, and need my sunglasses. Yeah, I think it's actually it's not the lighting so much. I think it's the ISO on the camera needs turning down a touch, but I ain't doing it now. Jess says posh new backdrop, repurposing stuff that I've already had made. This is putting stuff up on the wall behind me is not the place to spend money. That's for sure. Where are we at? Tony's saying you look just as good in 720 as in 1080. Yeah. I have no idea why it was it was literally like sort of like 30 seconds before I was about to press the button and it was like, oh, what am I going to do? John Porton, good evening. He says hello from Southwest Florida. I hope the weather's better for you, mate, than it is for us. Centaurius Art, good evening to you. John Porton says happy Warhammer Fest 2021. No doubt we'll kind of get to that at some point tonight and just talk about the Warhammer Fest thing. Obviously there's some AOS reveals today, which depending upon your feelings about it, you might be excited, you might be a bit disappointed. Pomsy, you look beautiful as always. Claudio says, Steve, nice to know you're watching. Peter says he always watches in 240. 3 Spires Gaming, Josh, good evening to you, mate. Busey says, evening each and all, man, woman and beast. In Christian, yes, it is a candle, mate. Just for the purposes of the stream, yes, just a scented candle. It's very, very calming, relaxing for me while I'm dealing with you lot. Bobby Clark, good evening, mate. Rob Fanelson says, surprised no GW talk today. Glad for it, though. I'm not really a GW kind of sort of fanboy, mate. I don't generally kind of... If there's something like really big news, I'll kind of cover it, but in like for me, there isn't any big news at the minute, really. So, I mean, we'll obviously speak about Necromunda tonight because it's a sci-fi game and they've got a new box set coming out. But yeah, well, I'm not like GW stuff's not like I'm not one of the channels that just jump on every new story about GW things. James DW, hello BlackJack. He says, good topic. What's with the American football helmet? I am a Rams fan, mate. I'm a lifelong Rams fan. Always been a fan of the Rams. I'm a bigger sort of fan of American football than I am of kind of British football or English football. I don't really watch sort of football, to be fair. Sort of NFL is the sport that I watch. Brennick, good evening to you. Tony says, I'm catching up with sci-fi, gone from fantasy to steampunk and 1920s and 40s pulp. I think we kind of it goes through phases. I think like I made a video last year. I think we're going through kind of like the age of fantasy at the time, and there was a lot of fantasy stuff coming out. It feels like sci-fi is kind of sort of having a bit of a wave at the moment as well. Spanky Tarzan says candle equals Andy's Andy Tooth device. It wouldn't take the sound of me, mate, that's for sure. Jess says I got on the Nick starter for Stargrave, total bargain, and it turned up, but I'm still working away, so I can't play with my new toys. Yes, we'll be talking about Stargrave tonight as well, mate. Lord Mason says I can't decide on the colour of the ethereal flames. What works better with red cloth, light blue or purple? I'd go light blue, mate. You want it to contrast. Purple's a bit too close to the red. Peter said scented candles. John Keller, good afternoon to you, mate. He's painting Dust 1947 stuff tonight. John says not one of those Gwyneth Paltrow candles. Nah, it's from IKEA, mate. Just like, yeah. Billy No Brandon, mate. I'm not made of money. I think it was £1 or £1.25 from IKEA. Warwick says the GW reveal of the big silly looking vampire centaur with the waist wings. I'm that girl gift doing the side eye looking at it as if someone's gone nuts. It's I mean, the models are fantastic. it just comes down to personal taste whether you like that kind of stuff and things. Star Saga chat as well, maybe Busey saying. Not really, mate. I mean, it's Star Saga. We can mention it because obviously there's other Mantic sci-fi stuff on there, but there's not really been anything released from Star Saga in quite some time. So, Brad Peace says hopefully Matthew Stafford can do better for you than us. Fingers crossed. I mean, we're kind of tied up now a little bit in paying quarterbacks and ex-quarterbacks lots and lots of money this season. But yeah, fingers crossed, mate. Busey's saying Star Saga chat. Oh, we just got to that one, didn't we? Rob says, I know you're not a GW fanboy. Super happy about tonight's theme. I'm a huge sci-fi guy like you. Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, actually, I'll quickly show you because I've got all my cameras and stuff working now. It kind of gives you an idea. So obviously, I've got my my Darth Vader helmet there. So what we've got now with the cameras is, if I give you a little wave there, hello. So basically, when I come to do my gameplay footage and things, that'll be the camera that looks across the table at whoever's playing on this side. It's titled Andy Cam, so it's generally going to be me because this is where I control all of the bits and pieces from. So this gives you a little bit of a slight behind the scenes of keyboards everywhere. So this is the keyboard for the PC. Obviously, I do the chat and stuff from my laptop, so it's like, you know, it's a bit of a mix of bits and pieces. But what was I going to say? Yes, so that one will be the one across from this side. So yeah, you can see if I move my head that way, you can see the Darth Vader helmet there. If I go across to the other side, so this will be the camera that obviously goes across to the opponent on the camera. I don't know why I'm looking at that camera because you can't see me now. It's this one here. But you can see I've got my AT-AT there as well. There's a Slave One. There's a Millennium Falcon. I've got Boba Fett on there. You can see, actually, you might not be able to see because it's just behind the camera. But I do have a glass decanter with whiskey in, which is actually a Stormtrooper head. So yeah, it's kind of, I'm starting to get some bits and pieces. I've got another one of these wooden crates to kind of go up on that wall as well. So yeah, it's starting to come together and stuff now. And then obviously we've also got the table down camera. So here you can see my candle, my cup of coffee, my laptop. It's a bit messy at the minute because obviously I'm streaming, but it gives you an idea of the different views of different cameras and stuff like that. So yes. We're getting there. We're getting there. Lord Maiden saying he's got an idea for the blue, nice one. Brennick says he's painting some Colonial Marines to go with the APC did last week. Very nice. Michael Cowan, good evening to you. Lord Maiden says multiple Andys. Yeah, you don't want more than one, mate. Honestly. Jess says, bloody hell, fella, it's like a game in NASA. It's coming together, mate. This is the beauty of having the space. The problem I had before was because the room was so tight, I couldn't get the cameras. So, for example, if I go to this camera, I couldn't get the camera far enough away from me so that actually you could see the player and see the table and stuff as well. And obviously, the cameras are mounted on the walls, and I'll be able to kind of angle things and get more of the gameplay. And that's with the lens zoomed fully out. So I can get closer to the gameplay. I'm still looking at that camera. I can get closer to the gameplay as well. But yeah, having the space really does make a huge difference. I look at this camera now. I need little lights on them so I know which one I'm looking at. Everyone's saying good setup. Thank you very much. Matt M, good evening, mate. Says looks good. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to John as well. Frantic says that looks so pro. Like I say, it's took me, I've been doing this for nearly 5 years now. I've been doing this full time for a year. And like it's obviously cost me a few pounds to kind of to get it to this level, and I've invested money that I've saved up over the years to kind of to get to this stage now. But I'm kind of in it for the long haul now, so it was different when it was a bit of a hobby. You don't really want to go overboard with kind of like with kit and stuff, but it's my job now, so it was the right time to invest and kind of take it to the next level. So yeah, I would never I'd never say kind of go out and buy the bits and pieces that I've got if it's just your hobby and you're just kind of playing around with it. But this is all like, it's just to make it easier for me, make it more efficient, and kind of improve from that point. So thank you very much. Peter saying, show us the button which launches the missiles. I've got one which launches a missile from yours, mate. Frantic, would expect nothing less for someone who does this full time. Yeah, that's it, mate. Like it's the right time to kind of invest in stuff now for me, especially when I can start like from 2 weeks time. excuse me, in 2 weeks' time I can start to have people here to play games. So I should have this completely finished, because what you can't see is the mess that's at that end. I'm not going to turn the camera around and show you, but the mess that's at that end at the minute. I've got some shelving and stuff in there now, and I'm starting to kind of bring all my gaming stuff down, all my miniatures, all my terrain, all my games and everything else. So yeah, that's starting to fill up. Christian says, all right, sweethearts, you heard the man, you know the drill. Assholes and elbows. Little as $2 a month gets you access to Patreon. Thank you very much, mate. Now is a great time to join the Patreon as well, right at the start of the month. So if you pledge today, you obviously get a full month of pledge before you have to sort of, the payments always come out on the 1st of the month. So there's no point joining the Patreon on like the 30th of May kind of thing. You're better off doing it at the start of the month. So yeah, cool. Right. John says, what size table do you have there? 6x4. So yeah, so these I don't know if you can actually see these squares. These are kind of 1 foot by 1 foot or 12 inch by 12 inch squares. So there's kind of 6 across the table and 4 across that way. So yeah, that is a 6x4 table. Jim Street, hello mate. He says, it's been a while since he's managed to catch a live stream. How's it going? It's going very well, thanks very much. Jill says, looking impressive. Not normally a BackRep fan, but this setup looks like they'd be good. Yeah, I must admit, I'm a bit fussy and a bit partial when it comes to BackReps. I've got certain types that I like, and I've got certain types that I'm not so keen on. And the idea is I'm setting it up. The idea of doing cameras like, if I can go to which one was it? Cameras like this one is because like I quite like them sort of. I like having the interaction with the players as well, and being able to see them making decisions and not just the game player ones. So this camera here that I'm using, the one straight in front of me, normally this will be kind of like sort of facing down the table, getting both players in and getting the table in and stuff like that. So that one's on a tripod that can be moved around. Everything else is fixed but is adjustable. Busey saying maybe you can shift the 3D printers out of the toilet and set them up there too. I have created a space for them, so behind me, the other side of this wall, I've created a space, so I'll have a little printing area down there. I'll have my airbrush on the other side as well. So yeah, so basically the spare bedroom that I've been using for the last 3 years is actually going to go back to being a spare bedroom, and I'll be doing all of my work from here basically. Also, the other side of it is I obviously work here sort of God knows how many hours a day. It means I can physically switch off and go into the house and basically have like kind of like, right, I've stopped working for the day, rather than sort of being constantly surrounded by my work type things. VJ, good morning, mate. Hope you're well. Well hung and dung. Says, have you talked about Stargrave yet? I've not talked about the sci-fi stuff. I'll be starting that in like the next kind of 5 minutes or something like that. VJ says, moving all your gaming stuff down. I bet Lou's glad about it. I tell you what, you'd be surprised at just how much stuff there is, mate. It's not good. Peter says those fixed cameras should prevent that annoying camera shake many BackReps suffer. Now, if you just sort the dice rolling, so I'm not a fan of the kind of shaky cameras. It's a personal choice thing. I know lots of people like them because it's easy to do. You've got one camera and it's constantly in the right place. I'm personally not a fan of it. I don't enjoy that kind of quick movement type stuff. So that's why I've gone for fixed cameras. Obviously I can position them and zoom in and that kind of stuff. The dice rolling, so the plan for dice rolling is I've got another camera, a webcam, which will point down to a dice tray, and the dice tray will have a green screen in the bottom of it, and then when you roll the dice, the dice will come up on the screen. So no matter which camera you're viewing, you'll still see the dice kind of come up on the screen. So you'll always see the dice rolls, and they won't kind of interfere with anything else. So yeah, that'll look good. Martin Nickel pledged by a Patreon. Thank you very much, Martin Nickel. That's very, very, very kind of you. I don't know if you're in the chat tonight. I'm not sure if I've read your name out, but thank you very much. And VJ saying, yeah, handheld camera doesn't worry me. It's really effective because you can always put the camera where you want. The problem is when you've got the handheld camera is that you've always got one hand basically kind of like tied up. And it takes a lot of practice. So because what will happen is you end up kind of moving around and just kind of like, so if I lean forward and do that with a camera, you're not capturing the right stuff. And if you, I mean, you can obviously get things. Like kind of gimbals and stuff, but otherwise they can bounce around. The people that do it well have been doing it for years and they just got used to it. The problem is, it means playing a game with one hand. It means constantly kind of keeping an eye on the camera, making sure you're getting everything in shot. And then it takes you out of the game. It means that one of the players is not really concentrating on the game. They're concentrating on 10 other things. It's hard to measure because you got the tape measure out and you're trying to measure across. I personally just don't find it very easy, and I don't find them that easy to watch. But so that I'm sure other people won't like the way I do it. Fast Panda came in saying even worse when you only have one hand. I can imagine it must be a bit of a nightmare, mate. I can imagine. Spanky Tarzan says that would be me. I never knew that was your name, mate. Well, thank you very much, Spanky Tarzan. Much appreciated. Jill says handheld is often nauseating. I find if I'm watching it like on a TV and it's quite sort of big, there's too much fast movement, like kind of skimming around, looking at stuff, and it's a thing that people have to practice. Otherwise, it's down at the table, it's up at the player, it's down at the table, it's over at the dice. It can get a bit like motion sickness. I don't know whether I'm just a little bit kind of like sort of susceptible to motion sickness when it comes to things like that. So, Tony said, I think we need to name our roving reporter camera Kevin. I'm sure we'll do that one. And Christian said, I can't watch handheld camera bat reps. Yeah, I must admit, I don't watch a lot of bat reps myself, but I do find there's certain channels that I really enjoy. Red Rose Wargaming, for example, I will totally recommend them. Lots of Warcry content. They have fixed cameras, and I just find it really easy to watch because I can see what's going on, and I enjoy the kind of the banter, the conversation between the two people playing. I think Wargamer Online do AOS bat reports. I don't really watch AOS stuff, but I like the work that they do. I think they looks good. So yeah, it's horses for courses. Some people like them, some people don't. If you ask people what kind of bat reps they like, you'll get 25 different answers. So I'm basically making the bat reps that I like to watch, and also it makes it much easier for me to physically be able to record them. I can just concentrate on the game. I've got to switch between cameras now and again if I'm doing it like as a live thing, or I can just record all of the information to the cameras and then edit them back later on. It takes a bit longer, but at least you never miss a shot. So I'll do some trials and stuff, some shorter gameplay things just to get used to it. But yeah, I'm happy with it anyway. Warwick says the older he's gotten, the more easily he gets motion sickness. Maybe that's with me as well, mate. Yeah. Well, Hung and Dung says Bolt Action CP does good handheld stuff. I've not seen any of that, mate, to be fair. Fast Panda saying certain games Infinity need that detailed camera for line of sight and situational positioning. Yeah, I've seen some. I think there are some bat reports, things like what they call now TNG do a lot of they used to do a lot of Walking Dead stuff. They do quite a bit of Malifaux stuff, and I think they essentially move the camera and set up each individual shot. So it's like, say they've got one camera and basically set up a shot, play that part of the game, move the camera, set it up. They pre-measure everything. It must take hours and hours to film them bat reps, but it does look effective when it's done. VG says I'll watch either way as long as you're not playing Marines. Yeah, I've got no plans to at the minute, mate. I mean, there's a lot of other games I want to kind of play. I want to start off playing games where I'm really, really comfortable with the rules, so I can kind of just enjoy the game and think about the kind of the video side of it as well. Because what I don't want to do is jump into a game that I'm not that sure on the rules and then have a million different things to kind of think about. Derek says Red Rose have not produced a video in 6 months. It's just because of COVID, mate. They can't get together to play games. It's one of the reasons I've not done a lot of game reviews for a long time, because I physically can't play the games to then have an opinion and review them. But yeah, they're getting back together soon. Anna's one of my Patreons, so she's obviously still been in touch and been chatting and stuff. But yeah, I think her and Alan are going to come up here at some point as well when things allow. So yeah, we're not far away from it now. Right. I will. Hello, Throatsaw, by the way. Hope you're well. I think what we'll do is we'll now crack on. So if I minimize these windows here and bring up this one, we can start with this. So, folks, we're going to talk about sci-fi games, as I mentioned before. And We're going to start with Necromunda Hive War, because it was announced yesterday that this is going to go up for pre-order this coming weekend. It's the first weekend back for Games Workshop after having a little bit of a layoff with their pre-orders. But yeah, Necromunda Hive War is coming back. So this is basically the new starter set. If you remember going back quite some time ago, there was the original, well, not the original, the new version of Necromunda when it resurfaced. There was the Necromunda, was it Underhive? I think it might have been. I can't, oh, the box is not brought, I haven't brought the box down here yet. Necromunda, I think it was called Underhive. And that was basically the starter box. There wasn't any 3D terrain. It was all kind of on boards with walls marked on the boards and things. And then you had to buy a supplement. And then there was a whole rollout of lots and lots of books, and it got a bit complicated. Then there was Dark Uprising, which was the more expensive. I think it was like £250 or something like that, which had all of the lovely terrain in it. But the problem with the current starter box is it's kind of out of date now. The rules have been updated. That still has the old rules in it. So this is going to be, if you want to get into Necromunda, this is going to be the new starter box for this. So what comes inside it is, I think there's 10 models for Escher, 10 models for the Delac Gang as well. And as you can see there, you also get the gaming board to play on, and you also get the that very nice terrain. Well, I say very nice terrain. It's nice. It's kind of modular stuff, but I must admit I'm not overly keen on the tops of it. I know it locks together and you can build it up, but bearing in mind that's what you're going to see of it most of the time, it's not visually very appealing. It's a shame really the Escher Gang is in this starter set, because the Escher Gang was in the original alongside the Goliaths as well. It would have been nice to have kind of two other factions, but so be it. So yes, so that is coming this weekend, and the rulebook basically is the updated rulebook, 104 pages, softback, and it says it introduces the setting and the background of Necromunda, and it also has multiple scenarios. I think it says somewhere here as well with, I thought it said something about basically the rules have all been updated, and this tells you what's in the box. So no idea how much it's going to cost at the moment. GW haven't released the pre-order prices at the minute, but that is coming this weekend. So next up, Stargrave is getting a lot of attention at the moment as well. Let me very quickly just check the chat here as well. If I just scroll that up a little bit before we go on to Stargrave. Warwick saying, didn't GW just come out and say they weren't doing orders for a bit? Yes, they were. They haven't done orders for 2 weeks. It's this weekend is the first one back. Claudio says, nice to be here for the banter, but he's got to get up early. Take care, mate. John saying, you heard about this new Necromunda box. I wonder if it'll be less than the last one. I think it's certainly going to be less than the Dark Uprising one, but I'd take a pitch at about £125 for this one. So you're probably talking whatever Cursed City cost in your region. I'd imagine this is going to cost about the same, if I'm honest. Yeah, Lord Mincy, I think it was called Necromunda Underhive. Yeah, I think it was as well. Well, Dunn says he's an old school Necromunda, but not adverse to the new one. Vijay says, I don't play Necromunda, not into gangs, but I'm glad they've gone with 3D terrain. Yeah, it feels like this is the one that it should have been originally, to be fair. I bought the original, the Necromunda, and I don't even think I've ever played it. John saying, the sets of weapon sprues I saw look very useful. Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, I think there's only 4, is it Escher and Goliath, I think are getting the weapon sprues first. Jill says, I find the terrain underwhelming, but glad to see they're supporting the game. Yeah, there is that as well. And Vijay saying, switch it up from Goliath opposite Escher. Yes. Throat Sauce says, indeed, Necromunda for me is about getting off the ground. Who remembers the original cardboard scenery? I wasn't really into gaming at the time when Necromunda was around, but I do remember seeing pictures of the cardboard scenery. It was a shame, basically, that they kind of turned it into a bit of a board game, because 3D terrain is really like kind of what that game is about. Well Hung and Dung says, Forge World have been doing weapon sprues for ages. They have, but these ones are plastic ones from GW now, so I think there's quite a lot of stuff on them. Jim Street says, one-page rules released a mini agnostic game similar to Necromunda called Gang Wars. No IP infringing name there. Grimdark Future Fight expansion. Al says, damn, I missed the start. I was looking forward to this one. You've not missed much, mate. That was the first one we've talked about. Right, I will dive in now. I'm going to scroll ahead a little bit. Jimmy G saying, Stargrave's been a game most of the Frostgrave players have waited for a long time. It seems to be the case, mate. It seems to be the case. And Matt says, seems to be quite a talk nowadays of one-page rules. Glad to see it. I think it's because they're sponsoring a lot of channels to make videos about it at the minute. So I know Luke from Luke's APS or from Geek Gaming, he's done quite a few paid promotions where he's been sort of talking about one-page rules. So I'm assuming they've got a bit of a marketing budget at the moment. Anyway, Stargrave. So I've come to the North Star Military Figures website rather than the Osprey one, because you can buy the book here as well. But the book is published by Osprey. It's written by Joseph McCulloch, who is obviously well known for Frostgrave. And essentially Stargrave is Frostgrave in space. So if you're more of a sci-fi fan than you are a fantasy fan, this might be what you're looking for. Now, unfortunately, the website isn't the best for this, because they're sold out at the moment, the miniatures and stuff, because one of the differences here is I think North Star, I think Frostgrave got some miniatures Frostgrave got some miniatures eventually, but it didn't launch with them. It was just a book at the time, where Stargrave is launching with some miniatures. The problem is that the website doesn't really show you the miniatures. It just shows you a picture of the box. I've seen some pictures of the miniatures online, and they look pretty nice actually. And I think because of this, it might be something I take a look at some point. I tend to like to be able to support the system with a miniature range, and be able to look at a miniature on a table and know exactly what it is, kind of thing. Personal choice, before everybody starts telling me about it. Miniature agnostic stuff. Personal choice. But this might be the reason why I would maybe give this one a try. But unfortunately, it's really hard to see the pictures on there, which is a real shame. They're multi-part, hard plastic, and there's 20 miniatures in a box for £20. So yeah, really well priced. The rules themselves, basically, it does have its own setting and stuff. So for all you kind of set the games up in your own world, if you like, it does have its own setting, and it's very much. I'm going to talk about core space later on, but it feels like kind of core space, sort of pirate type sort of thing. It's saying here something about. Vast pirate fleets roam from system to system, robbing, extorting and enslaving. Amidst this chaos, thousands of independent operators, smugglers, relic hunters, freedom fighters and mercenaries roam the dead stars in small ships, scratching out a living any way they can. So it's less about kind of big sort of armies fighting each other, and it's more about kind of like sneaky little pirate. Think Firefly, think sort of Han Solo, think that kind of stuff. So yeah, it seems to be picking up a lot of attention at the moment. I know if anybody that's played Frostgrave has generally been looking forward to seeing a sci-fi version, as was mentioned there. Let's have a little look and see what people are saying as well. Jess is saying, yeah, Stargrave, I'm buzzing to get piled in. You were just saying about the stuff in the chat that your stuff has arrived. Rat Hammer says Stargrave is very welcomed. Rob says one-page rules are some good stuff. I was looking at their one-page rule stuff today actually, but it was... they seem to be kind of getting pushed out there a little bit more now, which is good to see. Al says, I've only had one game of Stargrave, but loved it. I don't know anything about it, if I'm perfectly honest. It's something I have to kind of sort of do a bit of digging around. I never played Frostgrave either, but it never really interested me. That was the thing at the time. John says, I hope to see Stargrave available here in the shops. I can only pay by cash and in person. I think that tends to be the problem with these smaller publishers, mate, is that they tend not always to make it that. Hopefully you might see somewhat like some kind of conventional kind of like type thing. Warwick says, if I still have any Lego, I have played Frostgrave with Lego just to take pictures. Moose Moosington, good morning from the future. Hello, Moose. He says, I've seen that you like sci-fi miniature games. Sci-fi is definitely my preference. I do like fantasy games as well, like obviously things like Warcry. I really enjoy. I love Kings of War, but sci-fi is definitely my main love. Brennick says, unsure about Stargrave. I read 5 parsecs right before it, and reading Stargrave over the last few days, it reads like a lot more limited, less expansive. I think it depends what you're looking for, mate. I think my understanding is 5 parsecs from home is a solo game. I'm not sure if you can play it multiple players. I've only ever read that it's a solo game, but it may be possible to play it multiple players. Where I think Stargrave, you definitely can play multiple. VJ is saying the one-page rule 3D sculpts are looking really good too. I think that's where they've started to come on, really, like when it was just a rule set. And this is always my point. If you just produce a rule set, then generally, like how does that company make enough money to kind of keep reinvesting? They either have to keep making new rule sets, because they're not going to make a lot of money from just like updating it, like, and bringing out sort of like an updated rules, or like people are not going to pay money for codexes, for example, like the way they do for sort of 40k. And that's why I like to see these games have a miniatures range to be able to support those companies to reinvest and kind of keep going. So it's good to see them doing it through digital files. John saying, always freaks me out a little talking to people in Australia, speaking from the future. Jim says, one-page rules line STLs, you look good. Kenneth Paulson says, yep, Stargrave, Joe is a wizard. Brennick saying, going to use one-page fantasy rules over Age of Sigmar. You can play 5 parsecs as co-op against the AI. So you play it as co-op, so it's still kind of solo rules. So you're always playing against an AI. I knew it was solo. I didn't realise you could play it co-op. And Tony says his latest sci-fi with a new Starfinder RPG minis, not the old Ninja Division ones. They're really nice. I'll be looking forward to seeing them pictures, mate. So yes, that's Stargrave. Next one up, we are going to talk very briefly about Firefight 2nd edition public playtest. So if you are someone that's played Dead Zone by Mantic Games, which I might mention later on, or you've played Warpath. Warpath is essentially their sci-fi version of Kings of War. The rules are different, but they've got Panathor and their kind of their fantasy range, and then they've got Warpath and their sci-fi range, of which Star Saga and Dreadball and Dead Zone, Firefight and Warpath, I think I've mentioned, are all part of that universe. So Firefight is having a bit of an update at the minute. You can go to the Mantic blog, which is where I am here on the Mantic site, and you can download the playtest rules for free. And I think there's been some extra factions have been added to it as well. From what I understand, it's designed to be really streamlined, really fast-paced, kind of number of miniatures wise. It's obviously bigger than your standard skirmish games. It's bigger than Dead Zone, but nowhere near the size of kind of like full army scale games. I think if you're maybe talking about 30 miniatures, something like that, 30, 40 miniatures max. So that's probably, it's a nice kind of sort of middle ground, if you like. So yeah, basically it's like I say, it's meant to be a lot more streamlined. There is, does this code? Oh, that was just for the rest of April, so the code isn't there. But yeah, if you go down to the bottom, it says buy now. But if you click through it, it says it's zero cost, and that's how you download the rules for that. I don't know if anybody's played it yet. I've not had a chance. Obviously, I've been spending all my time doing work in the garage here as well, getting this studio stuff set up. But yeah, I do intend to give it a try at some point. Spanky Tarzan saying Stargrave is faster, easier to get into, but as a D20 game, be prepared to take a slap in. I think that's from what I've been told about Frostgrave, is it can be quite swingy, but actually it's not a competitive game. It's meant to be a bit of fun, so actually that's part of the story building sometimes, really. Peter says he bought the full rulebook for Grimdark Future on Wargames Vault. Throatos says he just bought a Battletech box and has also enjoyed Drop Zone Commander. I've got Drop Zone Commander, and I've played it a few times. It doesn't really grab me, if I'm honest. Animus is saying Firefight looks interesting. Dead Zone was great. I think they've done a good job with these 2nd edition rules. I've been reading through them, and I like a lot of the things I'm seeing. I haven't played it yet to try it on the table, but reading the rules, I like the way it kind of sinks in. Spanky Taz says, I'm not a full army kind of guy. Skirmishes are my bag, and Firefight is about as big as I'd like to play. I think it was when 9th edition of 40k came out, the combat patrol stuff, which was like 500 points up to a maximum 1,000 point type games, was kind of what interested me, and that was why I decided to buy into 9th edition. Obviously the pandemic came along and we never really got to do anything with it, but that for me as well, I think that kind of size game, not so much the size of the table, that's not necessarily an issue, but the idea of painting like sort of 70, 80, 90, 100 models and having to move them all around the board. Kings of War, you have to paint quite a few models, but then you move them as a big block of unit. So I find it plays like a skirmish game, but it looks fantastic with all the models out. But yeah, I'm not hugely interested in having to move around individually, kind of like 100 models. Rob's saying, for anyone looking for a model agnostic campaign game in the vein of Necromunda, but high sci-fi, check out Zone Raiders by Tony Zhao. Great sub for New Munda if you're looking for one. Jim says, I just bought enough Veermen and Enforcers to have some Firefight squads. I've been looking as well, mate, to see which faction I would fancy for them as well. I obviously hadn't had time to do anything, so I've not bought anything yet, but I have been eyeing them up and seeing which one I fancy. Jimmy G saying, yeah, Frostgrave isn't for competitive players. Stargrave will be the same. It's about having fun. And that's no bad thing, mate, actually. That I quite like games that are designed that way. John says he's actually considering playing classic Battletech, even though I kind of loathe the clunkiness. I'm not a big fan of that kind of clunky system either. VJ saying, Veermen are the best part of Dead Zone Firefight. I painted up Veermen stuff for our Dead Zone painting challenge, and I must admit I really like the kind of the red paint scheme that I gave them. And I was moving them down here. Actually, I was moving them into a box to bring down here. I haven't done it yet. And kind of like, I was thinking, yeah, I could probably paint a bigger force of those. I like some of the vehicles as well. I forget what they're called, but the big wheels and stuff, I quite like them. Moose is saying, yeah, Aussies are like the ghost of Christmas yet to come. New Zealanders are even scarier. And Jill says, I think the Kings of War is the only game I'm willing to paint that volume for. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much the same as well. And it's purely the fact that you move them around as one big unit. Jim says, Veermen, those sculpts are great. The progenitors are my favourite. Yes, they're very nice. Next up. So it would be amiss of me if I did not talk about Infinity, and I've on my list I've put Infinity on 3 times because we've got Infinity N4, which is the latest sort of full scale Infinity rules. We've got Infinity Code 1, which is the kind of the scaled down, or the, I wouldn't say simplified. It's almost sort of limited options to make it easier to pick up and play. And then we've also got Defiance, which unfortunately I don't think you can buy. I think it was Kickstarter only, but if you pick it up a Kickstarter, obviously you'll be interested in it. So we've got Infinity, we've got Infinity Code 1. Infinity Tag Raid is something that is coming later this year, I believe. But the other game I want to talk about was Aristea as well. So Aristea is, if you think of God tier, Super Fantasy Brawl, Warhammer Underworld, it's that kind of combat arena. However, it is sci-fi. None of the other ones have a sci-fi version. So if you're into the sci-fi stuff rather than the fantasy side of things, this might be more up your street. Aristea is a great game. Hex-based kind of arena combat. No factions. You just draft in or pick whichever models that you want. There's no factions. You basically just pick the ones that you like the look of. Speaking of Code 1, so Code 1 starter set came out last year with Yu Jing and Pan-Oceania. I forget now. I always forget. I think is Ariadna and somebody else. I forget who it is now. There's basically like another Code 1 box that is coming out this year. Somebody will tell me in a second who it is. Moose is saying the minis for Aristea look amazing. The one difference I should say is that the models for Code 1 and the models for Infinity N4 are metal, and they're multi-part metal miniatures. They're made by Corvus Belli in-house. The models for Aristea are single-piece plastic, and they basically just come as a single-piece plastic model. So if you're not into kind of building the Infinity models, but you like the look of them, Aristea could be a good option. Lord Maiden saying 012. I'm not sure. It's Nomads. Fast Pandas just saying that was it. Nomads. So there's a new starter box coming for this as well. I would say that I have got the terrain over there, and I have got the box down here as well. But I'm not going to start opening them now. The terrain that comes in the box is really good quality. It's like sort of printed, coloured card, but it's really thick card, almost like plastic sheets. Really good quality if you're just kind of getting started. I personally absolutely love the Infinity universe, the world, the lore and the background of all the different factions. I love the kind of like the political wrangling, the fact that it's a kind of like a clean sci-fi. It's a world where people live and kind of go to work. It's not this kind of grim, dark, death and destruction type thing. But there's a lot of things like unforeseen going on in the background. Lord Main says, you're right about the Aristea models, but the alternative versions are multi-piece metal. Yeah, the alternative ones are made, but the ones that you buy for Aristea, that like sort of specifically, if you like, are all plastics. Tasty Brain Trains, are you sure about that? They always said Defiance was Kickstarter only. Yeah, I thought it was as well, mate. Who Who was saying that one? Rob Fanelson was saying, let me scroll up a little bit. Where was he saying that? Defiance will be retail way later. They did always say it was going to be Kickstarter only. I mean, I would love to see it come to retail, but they did always say it was going to be Kickstarter only. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. Fast Panda says, obviously we like Infinity, we are dedicated to it. Yeah, if you are interested in Infinity, Fast Panda Gaming do some great bat reps for Infinity, and it's worth checking them out. I've done a few videos on Code 1, I've done some stuff on the background lore about Infinity, so yeah, you can always check those ones out. Next up, 5 Parsecs from Home is another game that's getting quite a lot of attention at the moment. Originally, the game is made by something Weasel Games, I forget what they're called now, Nordic Weasel Games. And the book has now, let me just get rid of the adverts along the bottom. The book has now been published by Modifius, who you might know from sort of Fallout games and, what's the other one? The Elder Scrolls game as well. So they've published this book for it, and it used to always just be a PDF. Now you buy it now, and I think it says this is a pre-order. It starts shipping during this month, but you'll receive a complimentary PDF upon completion, so you can start playing right away. So if you are interested, I mean, it looks like it's obviously full color. There's some nice artwork and stuff in there, which I don't believe was necessarily in the original PDF versions. This is a miniature agnostic game. There's no model range attached to this, and it'll tell you a little bit about it. But it is a solo adventure game. As somebody mentioned before, you can play co-op, but the enemy is basically AI controlled. So if you're more into your solo gaming, if you're more into your co-op gaming, again, I wouldn't necessarily consider this as like, it's not competitive because you're not playing against anybody. But if you like your miniature agnostic games, you like your solo games, or you prefer to play co-op, maybe you've got like a little one that you want to kind of play alongside and help them as well, this might be right up your street. Let's have a look and see what people are saying. Yeah, everyone's saying, yeah, they keep saying it's Kickstarter only. Yeah, I'm sure that's what I always read as well. Tasty Brain Drain says, maybe this is my inexperience shown, but I actually prefer Metal Minis. I'm not a huge fan of Metal Minis, if I'm perfectly honest. However, I do really like the Infinity Minis. Corvus Belly makes some really, really nice quality sculpts. I'd prefer they were resin. I'd prefer they were plastic. But I'm not going to complain about them. They're fantastic quality, and really, I love the aesthetic, so I can kind of like forgive the fact that they made of metal, if you like. John says, I tried watching some Infinity bat reps, but I'm left spinning by the rules. It seems a bit convoluted. It's actually not that complex, mate. What's complex is there are lots and lots of options of what you can take. And the rule book basically has everything in it. So it's not like this faction has their own book and this faction has their own book. Everything is in the rule book, and there are lots of options. But the basic mechanics of the game are very, very simple. If you basically, as you move, if you move at any point within line of sight of an enemy model, they get the chance to basically return fire to you. It's called an ARO, which is an automatic reaction order. So if somebody moves like sort of from one building to another, you get line of sight as they move, you get to shoot at them. It's a game that basically rolls D20s, so it can be quite swingy, but actually what it does do is it allows you a much wider scope from different weapons, and there's modifiers and stuff. But it's essentially a face-to-face roll. I roll my 3 dice, for example, for a burst of my rifle. You roll your 1 dice for kind of a reaction fire or something like that. And whoever has the most successes with the higher number is the winner, basically. And so it's not actually that difficult. I intend to do some Code 1 stuff. I'm not sure I want to kind of scale up to N4 and do the full rules, but I intend to do some Code 1 stuff at some point. And I might try and keep it relatively small as well. So obviously I've got the Code 1 starter box. All my stuff's painted up for it. I intend to do some kind of starter box type bat reps rather than trying to sort of come really complex and sort of get into the sort of the fine sort of metagaming and the kind of competitive rule side of things. I want to just showcase games, show that actually sometimes they're not as complex as they first appear. So yeah, we might get to that one at some point soon. where are we up to? We're talking about Potato Brain Drain says, ask me that again about a year or two. Who knows? Jim says, I'm not looking forward to 5 parsecs. Another Nordic Weasel game I'm building a crew for is Chrome Hammer. I saw that one as well. I don't know much about it, mate, but I saw they do a game called Chrome Hammer. Spanky Tarzan says the 5... Oh, sorry. John saying, I build and paint a lot of metal models because I bought so much of them years ago. I didn't really get into gaming until much later, so most of my stuff was always plastic. Spanky Tarzan says that the 5 parsecs from home system is used for fantasy, 5 leagues from the Borderlands. I saw they do them as well in the post-apocalyptic 5 clicks from the zone. Lord Maiden says, oh, will BlackJack Legacy say about Elia Chronicles? We will see. We will see. Rules are free too, he says, for Infinity. That's true. Metal minis do stick to the table well. They're lovely plastics and resins out there, though. I prefer like a lighter miniature with a weighted base as opposed to a heavy metal miniature on a plastic base, because sometimes they can feel a little bit top heavy. John says, everything in the rulebook is attractive. No codexes or necessary expansions to play. Cool, but I'll have to research some more. There's a group of Torchlight players. I mean, it looks complex, but it's actually relatively straightforward once you get your head around the mechanics. A case of like you basically get a number of orders, which are basically give like sort of an activation, and you can use those orders on any model you like. So if you've got 5 models, you've got 5 orders. You could use all 5 orders on one model and let them run all the way across the board and maybe take somebody out. Or you could use 1 order on each model, or you could use 2 on this one and 2 on that one and 1 on another. So it's quite flexible in that respect, but it's pretty brutal. If you get hit, generally, unless you're a tougher model, you're probably going to get killed with 1 shot. So it really is about kind of positioning. It's about taking a chance. It's about hiding in cover. It's about keeping an like sort of watching out for firing lanes. Terrain is really important, so you can get up high and kind of snipe down on models. It's actually really fun, but the basic rules are not that difficult. It's just that there can be a high level of complexity because there's lots of options. Where are we up to? Fast Panda says, I'll put up and be an Infinity opponent with you. That might not be a bad shout, mate. Keep me right as well. And Rob says, being engaged at all times is my favourite thing. Yeah, I like the idea that you never really switch off. Like even when you're not taking a turn, you're watching to see if your opponent pops their head out and you can take a shot at them type thing. Jess is on the subject of sci-fi games. I see Richard Halliwell's passed away. He was one of the folks behind Space Hulk, amongst others. I literally just read that tonight, mate, before the live stream. That's really sad news. Next up, we're going to very briefly talk about Dead Zone. I've got all my Dead Zone terrains over there and stuff, and my Dead Zone box and the minis painted up. So I'll be bringing some Dead Zone to the channel at some point in the future. I've obviously just been building up the Uncertain Scenery terrain as well. I've built up 3 of those 1 foot by 1 foot boxes, so I've left the last one to film me building it, so they're well on the way. I bought some spray cans as well to get the terrain done up. So yeah, Dead Zone is something I'll be featuring at some point in the future. And again, it's a simple rule set. People who play Dead Zone absolutely love it. I think it's one of those games that until you've given it a try, you're probably wondering like what's all the fuss about. Like, it doesn't use kind of tape measures. You move between squares or you move between cubes because it's quite sort of like vertical as well, a game, as opposed to just moving around. You literally, if you move 2, you can move 2 cubes. So it's really intuitive. And obviously your position within the cube is important, so you can hide behind things or you can sort of be exposed so you can shoot. But the game itself is really, really fun. There's a whole host of different factions. You don't need a lot of models to play the game. And as with all Mantic rules, they're not brain burners. Like there's some competitiveness in the game. There is some tactics in the game, but you very quickly start playing the tactics because the rules are just not difficult to kind of sink in. So yeah, if you've never played Dead Zone, I would absolutely 100% recommend you getting a demo at the very least, or maybe go halves with a friend on a starter set. I think like it says there, it's $49.99 in the UK. You can tend to pick it up with a bit of discount online as well. So it's not a lot of money to basically to give it a try. So I would definitely recommend folks giving it a try. Blizzard is saying Dead Zone is life. John says, I like games where you aren't sitting doing nothing, watching your opponent get. Yeah, I've seen plenty of games where folks just kind of, I'm off for a cigarette break. I'll come back when you've done your bit, kind of thing. Lazy Pirate Painting says Dead Zone rocks, and Jim saying Dead Zone is awesome. Like I said, people that play Dead Zone absolutely love it. It has a really like hardcore community. They love the game. It's just a shame it doesn't get in front of more people, because I think it's one of those games that if more people got to try it, I think it would grow. It would grow really fast. It's played on a 2 foot by 2 foot surface, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. And because you've got height to the game as well, it almost gives you a bigger playing surface than you would necessarily think, because it's a big cube as well, as opposed to like going sort of 6 by 4 across the table. Jim saying, yeah, Dead Zone is quick moving and tons of fun. Rob saying to John there as well, I'd give Infinity Code 1 a try. 2 good sized forces, great terrain in the box. Yeah, absolutely. John says, I got some Dead Zone Enforcers a few years back. Cool looking models. The material was a bit tricky to clean up, but I managed. They're some of my coolest looking models. I would agree. One downside I would say with some of the models for Dead Zone is some of them are much older sculpts with like older materials. So for example, the Veermen that I did were all hard plastic, I think, if I seem to remember. There might have been 1 or 2 that were like kind of like is it polystyrene plastic? Kind of like, people call it restic, but it's not that stuff. It's just a different type of plastic. But yeah, most of the newer stuff was obviously all hard plastic on sprues. Some of the older, like first edition Dead Zone models, whilst they're still very nice, they can be a bit fiddly to build and stuff. Tasty Brain Drain says Dead Zone's another game I would want to try. Wouldn't mind fielding an Asterian force. And Animus says Dead Zone's great, but it still has some annoying book flipping on specific rules. I think that you sometimes get some kind of edge case type stuff, but it's like anything. The more you play it, the easier it becomes. But generally, the basic rules are very, very simple. Jill says, is that the same Dead Zone starter box they launched with way back? No, so this Dead Zone is actually in its 2nd edition now. The original Dead Zone, you used to have cards when you played. Dead Zone 2nd edition, which has been out for quite some time to be fair, uses command dice. Are they called command dice? Something like that. Fiji says, I have the Dead Zone starter set thanks to Kelly. Hoping to get it to the table this year. Yes, nice one. So, we'll move on. Core Space is the next one I'm going to talk about. If you've not played Core Space, or you've never heard of Core Space, this could be a game that is right up your street. I've done a review of it. If you check out my channel, if you type in Core Space review into YouTube, you'll find my review of it. But this game, it's $79.99, which might sound like a lot of money, except it comes with a 2x2 gaming mat, and it comes with all of the card terrain that you need. It also comes with single-piece plastic minis. And I don't know if there's any pictures of the miniatures here. Let's see if there's... We've got, do these... No, they don't zoom in. But essentially the way Core Space works is you play... Again, it's a bit like Firefly. It's a bit like sort of Han Solo, Space Smugglers. You're essentially going to a ship, to a planet, where you're trying to get in and find useful things and get out. The beauty of this game is you can play it solo. There is an AI which controls the enemies on the board. You can play it co-op, where you can kind of join together against the AI enemies. Or you can play it kind of adversarial as well. So you can be one band of smugglers. Your opponent can be another band of smugglers looking for the same kind of stuff. And the AI is still controlled. The bad guys on the planet are still controlled by the game itself. Another benefit as well is the game actually has like non-player characters. It has civilians. So because you're coming on like a planet to look for sort of for bits and pieces, if you like, there are actually people walking about, and if they can get caught in the crossfire as well. The game is really, really fun. If you're looking for a solo sci-fi game, if you're looking for something that has just some cool minis to use in other games as well, maybe the terrain is good for using in your sort of sci-fi RPGs. There is some really, really nice stuff in this. And they also do some expansions. They've got a Core Space Deluxe rulebook. I've got one over there, which has got loads of background stuff in it. They've got an expansion called Dangerous Days. And then if I go to, Let's have a look. If I go to core space, and let's see, they've got these expansions as well. So things like Shootout at Zed's expansion. So you'll get some miniatures in there, you'll get some more terrain in there as well, and some more rules. Galactic Cores, I've got that one. You've got Purge Outbreak, you've got Shift Change, which gives you some extra like sort of characters to play as well. These are all sort of like little expansions, completely optional, but if you're really enjoying the game, you can kind of add to them and just kind of grow your game out from there as well. It's really nicely produced. The terrain goes together really nice. It's not very often you actually get this kind of game in a box with a neoprene gaming mat and all of the terrain and all the miniatures and all the dice and all the tokens and everything you need. It really is a good fun game. Fat Cat says Dead Zone's great fun. The terrain in the starter set is great for loads of games. It is. I mean, to be fair, it can be used in any game. It doesn't just need to be used in Dead Zone. Nalwick is saying Dead Zone was my entry into sci-fi models. I love the models. Was planning to have 2 teams. Less than a year later, I have 7. That's what happens. John says I got a package of cards with the starter I bought. Still haven't unwrapped them. Not sure if I should. Yeah, you don't use the cards in the original game. Lord Technopants, good evening, mate. He says Modern Necromunda is good with 3D terrain. I have a big pile of Mechanicus terrain because I'm very lax with my self-control. My other half has backed Core Space Firstborn. Yeah, so Firstborn is their new Kickstarter that they had not too long ago. And once that launches, that'll come to retail as well. Fat Cat says Core Space is one of the most flexible systems I've played. The deluxe rulebook is well worth the extra money. Yeah, I would agree with that as well, mate. Al says lots of room for deals and double deals. Yes. Lord Technopants says the weapon and ammo cards in Core Space in the chests, a great fun idea. Yeah, so you actually have like little kind of crates. And you randomly put kind of like different kind of ammo and supplies in the crates, mix them up and dot them around the board, so you actually don't know what's going to be in the crate when you get there, but you physically do like open the crate up and take the stuff out of it. John says the rulebook flipping. I've got those tags on the relevant pages, making it easy to find what I need to know. Looks tatty, but they're a big help. Jill says just going to have to listen in. Cat's been sick again. Oh, I hope the cat's all right. Yeah, I think it's going to be a long night. Vijay says the minis look a little thin and wiry. Do you mean that the ones in Core Space, mate? They're actually not too bad. It's just that the enemies themselves are actually kind of. I'm trying to see. We can maybe zoom in a little bit here. Why is it doing that? I don't know why he's putting the box over the top when I've clicked on that page. Oh, there we go. So the enemies are kind of like sort of like robots. Think iRobot, that kind of looking one. But the actual miniatures themselves, they're kind of I was going to say the heroes, but the models that you play, they're a little bit like Guardians of the Galaxy, Firefly, that kind of thing. But yeah, they're actually absolutely fine. They're not thin or wiry or anything like that. It's just that these particular models are a bit more kind of sentient robots, if you like. But they're single piece plastic. They're strong. They don't snap. They're quite just kind of. They've got some give in them. They're not going to snap off arms and legs and stuff. But yeah, they're nice. They're nice minis. So, Johnson, GW uses a proportion of 6 heads rather than natural 7 heads proportion. Corvus belly and it seems Mantic go for more realistic proportions. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a difference. They're kind of sort of heroic scale as they would call it. Next up, we're going to talk about Aliens. What's it called again? Another glorious day in the core. And it's more of a board game, but people seem to really love it, obviously with the Aliens kind of franchise, and they're really enjoying painting up the minis as well. So I thought I'd bring it up tonight. So it is a board game, but it's another sci-fi game that appears to be getting like a lot of traction since it came out. Loads of people talked about it before it came out, and everyone seems to be genuinely very happy with the game as well. I've not played it. I don't really know anything about it. I've watched a little bit of a bat rep. There's one of my Patreons has got a YouTube channel, and he did a bat rep about it now, and I watched that, and the game looks fun. It's something I think I'd like to try and play with somebody. I'm not sure if it's something I necessarily want to buy, but it's something I would quite happily play at a gaming night. But obviously it's got the characters in from the movies. So you've got Ellen Ripley, Newt, you've got Hudson, Hicks, Gorman, Frost and Vasquez. and then you've obviously got the aliens as well. But again, I think there is, if I go back one, I think there's expansions coming for this as well. So you can see here, get away from her, you bitch expansion. There's an aliens expansion, says ultimate badasses, and then there's obviously things like this as well. So you've got the APC models and stuff as well, armored personnel carrier. So yeah, so there's quite a bit of stuff for the game. Like I say, everybody that's played it seems to really enjoy it. But Brennick's saying there, they love this game, it's rock hard. And Marcus is saying, I think I'd buy Aliens for my friend. Like I say, I love the Aliens movie. It wasn't something that I felt like I needed to buy at the time, but it is a game I would like to give a try to. So yeah, it looks. But like, as Brennick's saying there, folks seem to really enjoy it. John saying, man, this is truly a golden age for miniature wargaming. There is so much stuff out there. I want to show you as well is that like GW is the behemoth. They are the kind of the all powerful, the all controlling, if you like. But they're not the only one out there. There's some fantastic games out there, and some really, really good companies making some great games. Jez says, I bought Aliens a few weeks before I left for this job, made some of the minis up, and then had to leave it behind. It looks ace. Jez, you're on for a game in that case, mate. And Tasty Braintree says, I'm pretty sure my gaming group will be playing Aliens at some point in the future. Next up, so we're going to talk about Star Wars Legion. There's a couple of starter sets for Star Wars Legion. There is the Clone Wars core set, which is the newer one of the two. And then I think, yeah, there's this one as well, which was the original one with Luke and Vader in as well. They both play exactly the same. The rules are the same. They've just got different miniatures in. Now, when Star Wars Legion was first announced, I was absolutely hyped for it. I love Star Wars, as you've seen, my Darth Vader and everything else. I love Star Wars, and I really enjoyed Legion when it came out. My problem with Legion was with the supply of product from Fantasy Flight. They were so slow to get stuff out there that for such a long time, everybody played Luke versus Vader, and one person had a load of brown rebels, and one person had a load of white troopers, and the games got a little bit a bit dull looking. So I kind of decided to wait until more releases came out, and then in that time I started playing other games and stuff. Since then I've gone back and I've bought the Clone Wars starter set to give some more stuff, and Fantasy Flight have released a lot more stuff for Star Wars Legion now, and there's lots of good things about Legion. I like the way the movement it works, that basically you move your commander and all of the troops move around the commander. It's not a case of moving every individual model. You basically like you measure from the commander, or you measure from the nearest model. I like the way the activation is kind of random, so there's almost this kind of like betting type thing at the start of each round where you play a card, which is how many units you're going to activate, like knowingly activate. And whoever kind of goes the highest, I think it is, gets to activate that many, and then the rest of them are basically tokens that you pull out of a bag or flip over randomly and activate them in the order that basically they come out. So it's a little bit unpredictable about stuff like that. The rules for Star Wars Legion are really good. There's a lot more stuff that's been released for Legion now as well, so there's a real good range. Unfortunately, Fantasy Flight games don't make it easy to kind of get the stock of stuff, which has always been an issue. The game has been taken over by Atomic Mass Games now. Fantasy Flight Games and Atomic Mass Games are both owned by the same company, which is Asmodee. But what's happened now is Atomic Mass Games is basically the miniature games sort of arm of Asmodee. So all of the Star Wars miniatures games have moved across alongside Marvel Crisis Protocol. So things might get a little bit better in the future. But what kind of caught me out was I saw some sales figures recently, and 40k still the number one selling game when it comes to miniatures. However, Star Wars Legion had passed AOS into third place. I think in second place was like D&D miniatures. They're still classed in the same kind of range. So D&D miniatures was the second biggest selling one. But Star Wars Legion had kind of passed AOS into third place, and I found that quite interesting really, and I think Star Wars Legion's very quietly just doing very well in the background. You might not see loads of stuff about it online, it might not get hyped up the same way 40k does, but I think it's growing momentum at the minute. It's another reason why when I'm saying about there's a big kind of resurgence of sci-fi stuff at the minute. I think Star Wars Legion is a bit of a dark horse, and it's maybe one to watch. and I think it'll be interesting to see what Atomic Mass Games does, because they seem to have a better sort of handle on the community when it comes to gaming, as opposed to Asmodee or as opposed to Fantasy Flight, who didn't really do a lot of kind of community interaction. Oh, my throat's drying out now. I could do with a drink. Let's have a little look here. Lord Technopan says, nice to see you in your garage, mate. My other half is probably regretting we knocked ours down, as she hasn't spoken to me since lunch and could have locked me in there. Oh dear. The Busey says, are there any Star Trek games about? There used to be, mate, Star Wars Attack Wing, which was essentially Star Trek Attack Wing, which was essentially Star Wars X-Wing, which is with Star Trek minis. But I'm not sure if it's still supported now. Where were we up to here? John says, I like the look of some of the Star Wars minis. Too many things to say. I feel like a dog in a hubcap factory. Yeah, I mean, that's always the case. There's always cool stuff. I'm not sort of telling anybody to play any particular game. I'm just opening your eyes to show you all the different things that are out there, basically. Jess is saying, aye, cool, getting them painted up. Nice one, fella. Marcus says, anyone who can find someone to 3D sculpt and a good sense of writing rules can make their own board game these days. Or big companies find the license to buy and make a game. Fast Panda says, during lockdown I bought the starter set, fully painted it, got scenery, still need to play it. Yeah, I must admit I've got scenery and stuff as well. I have played quite a few games of Star Wars Legion. But unfortunately, I've not played anything for a year pretty much. Al says, I have my Imperial Army painted and ready, but I have yet to get a game due to Papa Nurgle. Can't wait to try it. Vijay says, I've heard the Legion rules are good, but I'm not a fan of the minis. They look like they were sculpted in Play-Doh by someone using their feet. Do you know what it is, mate? They look a lot better in the flesh than they do in like a photograph and stuff. I think some of the minis that they have painted or that they show off aren't the best paint jobs. And actually, I think up close, actually in your hand, they look a lot better than you'd imagine. I think the newer stuff, the stuff that came out like the Clone Wars era and after that, is even better again than the original ones. But even the original box with like Luke and Vader in, I think it's one of those things I think you have to actually see them. They're way better than the pictures would suggest. Fat Cat says it's moved to Atomic Mass Games now, still Asmodee though. Yep, I just mentioned that one. Fast Panda says bought an AT-ST because they are cool. I bought that, so that if I go to that AT that's over there, I bought two of those. One was specifically just for Star Wars Legion games to have it as kind of, I was going to sort of break it up as ruined terrain. It's actually a popcorn bucket from the Disney parks in the US. Where were we up to? One here, weren't we? ER910 says, greetings Andy, how many models do you need to play Star Wars Legion? So there is, well, a standard game used to be about 800 points, which is probably about 30 models, something like that. However, there are also skirmish rules now for Star Wars Legion. The rules are all free online as well, so you can have a look at them before you kind of spend any money or print anything out or anything like that. But yeah, there's skirmish rules, so you can play with a lot less models now as well. Where were we up to there? Fiji saying, I like to sculpt and 3D print a Gungan army led by Jar Jar just to upset the neckbeards. Nice one. Fat Cat saying, yeah, the newer sculpts are better than the original ones. Rob says, one of the top IPs and the rules to me are just way too many parts for something that should have been simple to bring in new players. Legion should have been like Warcry. I wouldn't say it was that complex, mate. I think if you're into the competitive side of Legion, which a lot of people are, I think you can start to get a little bit kind of like sort of into the detail of it. But you, like, for example, the starter box, I've had some fantastic fun games just using the starter box, never buying anything else. All of the games I've played has been with just the starter box and not bought anything else, and it is still a fun game. Storm Shroud Tabletop Gaming says, I was excited when Legion was announced, but I really wanted to have a different scale. I'd have preferred it to be 10-15 mil to allow for big battles. I'm not a huge fan of small scale games, so for me it was exactly what I was looking for, but everybody wants something different, that's for sure. Matt says, heading off, take care Andy and gang, really enjoyed the stream, got me interested in core space, we'll check out when I'm nodding off in bed. No worries, take care Matt. Must Contain Mini says, nice studio, it looks awesome, thank you very much. Yeah, it's coming together, it's not quite finished yet, but it's almost there. Let me have a little look down here as well. John saying, I was 10 when the first Star Wars came out. I haven't bothered seeing any after the original 6, and from what I've heard, I don't need to. I love Star Wars. Even a bad Star Wars film is still better than most other stuff. I'm just a Star Wars fan, so I kind of like... I'm not like sort of one of these people that sort of like Jedi is not a religion type thing. I'm not getting myself all kind of like caught up in sort of like in like being really kind of like neckbeardy about the law and stuff. For me, it's kind of they're popcorn films. They're a big part of my childhood. I loved playing with the toys. I love the Clone Wars cartoons. I'm looking forward to the Bad Bunch cartoons. I just like Star Wars and I like the universe, but for me, they just kind of switch your brain off, just watch space battles, fantastic music, like great set piece type things. Tizzy Brindon says, yeah, I've played Legion and I didn't think the rules were that difficult to understand. Yeah, I didn't think they were too difficult, personally. No Beef Just Party says, I love Legion, very fun game, just didn't take off. I think that was the case in a lot of places. It didn't take off because there was nothing to buy. People got really excited, bought the starter box. It sold out pretty much instantly, and then they had to get like sort of more copies out there. I can't believe it kind of caught them off guard, but it did. And then there was that general Fantasy Flight, just awful supply issues for quite some time, which I think almost kind of killed the game before it started. Jim says, great perspective on the new Star Wars movies. One of the best Star Wars movies was Rogue One. Rogue One is fantastic. I absolutely love Rogue One. Rob says, needing cards just to do the setup and deployment is great for vet players, but Star Wars could be used to bring non-gamers and stuff. The thing is with the cards, mate, is it's no different to what you get in any other sort of war game. It's just that normally you'd maybe roll a dice to pick deployment or something like that. Warcry uses cards, for example, for deployment and for fight, like terrain layout. And it was one of the things I liked about Warcry was the fact that they almost copied the Star Wars model. The way it works with Star Wars is you basically you draw 3 cards for the mission, you draw 3 cards for the deployment, I think it is, and 3 for something else. I forget off the top of my head now. And basically, there's a little bit of a pick and ban system to decide what you're playing. You don't have to do that. If you're just playing for fun, you just basically just set it up, pick a card out. That's the mission we're playing, kind of thing. So you don't have to do that. The same way you don't have to do it in Warcry. But I actually find it's like a nice little kind of pre-game thing, really. Al says Rogue One of my faves. Yeah, Rogue One's fantastic. I wasn't a huge fan of Solo, if I'm honest. Solo is probably the one I enjoyed the least. John says the last new film I watched was Mad Max Fury Road. That's still not a bad film, actually, to be fair. Paul says I love Star Wars, however a bad Star Wars film is still a bad film. Star Wars episodes 7 to 9 are a bit like The Matrix episodes 2 to 3. Pointless and make the previous chapters worse just by existing. I think maybe I'm just not, I don't look that deep into them, mate. I think that's maybe what it is. Like I still quite enjoy them. I quite enjoy, like, is it Last Jedi where they basically, I think it's Last Jedi where they kind of across the white salt flats and stuff with the red stuff coming out like as the big trails. I think it just looks fantastic. I love it just for that scene alone. Like there's little things like that, just kind of, it brings out the 10-year-old in me, kind of like sort of just smiling at the movie. I can't help but smile when I hear the Star Wars theme and I see the words kind of trailing up the screen. I'm obviously easily pleased, but that's fine. Fast Panda says, later taters, work early to pay for hobbies. Nice one, mate. Take care. Thanks for coming in. VG saying about Mando as well. Yeah, Mando was awesome. Warwick says, I like the idea for Stargrave of using stormtroopers from Legion to be any random baddies. I've seen somebody has used Star Wars miniatures. It might be Battlehammer on their channel. I think Straw maybe did it like during lockdown when he was playing lots of solo games, and he used Rangers of Shadow Deep rules, but used Star Wars minis to play a Star Wars game that seemed to work really well. Jez says not a huge fan of the prequels or Caravan of Courage, but pretty much love the Star Wars movies. Paul says, I get my star fix at the moment from Imperial Assault. I've always fancied picking up Imperial Assault, I'll be honest, but once it kind of got discontinued and it was quite difficult to pick up some of the expansions, I think that kind of put me off. But it's another game I think I'd like to play, especially with the app companion. Fat Cat says it's been the same with most Fantasy Flight products. Far better than X-Wing is Star Wars Armada, but so hard to get ships. Yeah, it's a real shame of that kind of stuff, isn't it? James says he's finished his modest little kit bash, made a Space Wolf out of spare Primaris. I think all his fur might look terrible. Nah, I'm sure it doesn't, mate. I'm sure it doesn't. John says he's only ever watched the first Matrix film. Interesting, but Keanu Reeves is painfully awful. His best role was Bill and Ted. I quite like Keanu Reeves. I quite like him in John Wick, to be fair, though. Marcus says, I have no idea why, but Star Wars is so huge here in my city. There are 5 cosplay Star Wars groups and multiple player leagues. Yeah, you do get a lot of that stuff. Rob says, fair enough, I wanted to like it, I just don't. So maybe I'm a grumpy gamer. I think we all just like different things, mate. That's all. It's not a case of I'm right, you're wrong, or you're right, I'm wrong. We just like different things. That's all, mate. Vijay says, if you treat Star Wars films as anything more than kids' popcorn films, you're taking them too seriously. I kind of take all films that way. Like I whenever I watch a film, it's to kind of escape for a couple of hours, like to switch my brain off and just be entertained. I don't really tend to take them kind of too serious, really. Just as he's working with a fella that made a load of the stuff for Fury Road, blows my mind. Nice one. Paul says, if you do another weekend, I'll try and get down and bring Imperial Assault. You are on, mate, definitely. Ice Moon, Scanner Darkly, God, that takes me back as well, mate. And Spanky Tarzan says, Strawn Park are absolute nutters. Thanks to them, I got into Gaslands. They're a good bunch of lads, them. Animus says, you only need the skeleton of a game system and then just add the flavour. Just like Ash plays Rogue Trader using Stargrave. Yeah, I think if you're into that kind of stuff, absolutely. Next up, and I know Lord Maiden mentioned this, but I'm going to talk about the Drowned Earth. You might be thinking, sci-fi, how can it be sci-fi? It's like dinosaurs and stuff. It's set in the future, therefore it's sci-fi. So the Drowned Earth by Olmec Games is a skirmish game, but it has a fantastic backstory to it. I've done a lore video, so check my back. If you go into my playlist, I think there's kind of like beginner lore videos. There's a one there for the Drowned Earth that'll give you the it's like 5 minutes long or something like that, and it'll give you the background story for this game. But essentially, what's happened is it's set in the future. The Earth's kind of being hit by like I don't even know what it is really, like off the top of my head. There's been a huge disaster, and basically the world ends up getting flooded and goes underwater. Eventually, it begins to kind of repair itself. There's kind of plant life growing everywhere. The Earth reclaims it and takes over, if you like. So it's kind of like jungles and swamps, and sort of the humans that are left behind start building on that world. But also, what happens is there's been experiments have been taking place in a research facility, and there's some unusual creatures that have basically come out of it as well, including things like dinosaurs and stuff, which is just makes for a fantastic rule set. Again, it works with D10s of this game. The stat cards for this are very sort of straightforward. There's not a lot of difficulty in it. If we go to the shot and let's have a look at the factions and stuff. So we've got things like the artifactors. In fact, I'm going to so this gives you an idea of the minis. The minis are metal, but so there they are painted up. So you can see there's kind of like sort of half human gorilla type things, lizards, different types of heroes. There they are as renders to give you an idea of what they look like. If we go to, I think it was not last week's Wednesday painting stream. It was the one before. I was painting. Let's see if I can find it for you. I think it's the Wayfarers. I think it was. Yeah, I was painting this elephant. Oh, so let me get that up. So yeah, so these are the Wayfarers, and I'll scroll across and find you the one that I was painting the other week on a live stream. This bad boy here. So I was painting this up, and I'll be getting ready to do some Drowned Earth gameplay stuff as well in the future. It's a game I really enjoy. I kind of got into the Drowned Earth through Elia Chronicles. So James Baldwin, who owns All My Games, contacted me, asked me if I'd be interested in doing like sort of any gameplay stuff for his upcoming Kickstarter, which was Alaya Chronicles. He sent me the demo kit out, and I really, really enjoyed it. So then eventually he sent me some Drowned Earth stuff as well. I asked him for some information on the backstory when I was making the lore video, and he sent me out the rulebook and some miniatures, and I absolutely love them. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing some stuff on this as well. So yes, Drowned Earth, again, it's a game that might have passed you by, but it's just so colourful. It's so different. It allows you to use some like really sort of interesting terrain and stuff. You know, like I find if you've got a bit of a swamp mat, you can use some like dead zone terrain, cover it with bits of sort of like aquarium plant stuff, and it looks fantastic for this game. Right, let's have a little look in the chat and see what folks are saying. Fiji says, huge flood, gone underwater. One might even say it's been drowned. The Earth has been drowned, yes. John says, the 2005 version of War of the Worlds destroyed my faith. Never again will I willingly watch a Tom Cruise or Steve Spielberg film. Fat Cat says, it worries me how many of these games I own and how few are unpainted and rarely make it to the table. Do you know what it is, mate? When I've been moving all my stuff, I was talking to the Patreons about this the other day. I actually felt a little bit sick when I was just kind of like digging all this stuff out that was kind of out of sight and out of mind, tucked away in boxes in the loft and stuff. And as I started to get things out, it was bad, really. And I might even make a video about that at some point. 5 parsecs from home. It looks interesting. Caught my attention. We've just been talking about that, to be fair, mate, earlier on. We did cover that game. Jim says that elephant is dope. Yes. Jez says, awesome elephant, dude. Yeah, I was painting it last week, a couple of weeks ago. Rob says, Zen Terrain has some great official Drowned Earth terrain. I've not heard of Zen Terrain. I'll have to check them ones out, actually. Yes, so that is Drowned Earth. Next up, we've got Star Breach. So this is a game by Elijah M. Kellogg. It is made by, is it Dead Earth Games? Let me check on my phone. I think the name of the company is Dead Earth Games. I want to make sure I get it right. Slow Death Games, that's it. I knew it was something like that. Yeah, Slow Death Games. And Star Breach is miniature sci-fi skirmish game which has model agnostic. And the rules basically are, I think the basic rules free. Have I imagined that? Free to play. Yeah, I think the basic. Oh, there they are. I think the basic first edition rules are free, and then basically if you want to add to it, you can purchase the kind of the upgraded version. I would obviously recommend that you do, like, obviously support these kind of smaller creators and help them out. But you can also play co-op and solo as well. So, I mean, I can show you some pictures kind of thing, but at the end of the day, it's you can use any models you want. But Star Breach is another game that gets really kind of highly rated as well. Let's have a look here. Storm Shroud is saying, so many games, so little time. Tell me about it, mate. Tell me about it. Tony's saying, speaking of terrain, I want to give a big shout out to Rob B for his beautiful scenic work. Oh, boy's done good. Yeah, Rob has been doing some fab stuff at the minute. Christian's off to bed now. Thank you very much, Christian. Speak to you soon, fella. Rob says, what, model agnostic? Yes, model agnostic. I have heard. I've not played it personally, but I've heard some really good stuff about it. Draco says, Eden is awesome. I've got Clan Bamaga, and the joke is I've got some Eden minis somewhere. I bought them from a salute many years ago. I think the game has dramatically changed since I bought them, to be fair. Spunky Tarzan says, I backed the Star Breach Kickstarter after playing the previous version. Very happy with the quality of the new version. Love the idea of being able to reproduce almost any trope army. Yeah, there's kind of like suggested sort of armies, isn't there, for you to use them ones. Jason says, Star Breach is well thought of by many folks. Yes, it is. Rob saying, yeah, he's enjoyed it as well. Very narrative driven game. like I say, I've heard really good stuff about it. I think you can buy their official dice. They have like dice with special symbols on the side. You can obviously put stickers on dice, or you can sort of, I think in the rules it tells you like 1 is equal to this and 2 is equal to that. But you can help to kind of support them by buying their official dice too. The last one I want to speak about tonight is Warcaster Neo Mechanica, which is from Privateer Press. And this is the latest game from Privateer Press, who make War Machine and Hordes. And they're essentially sort of branching off into the sci-fi universe to play this. Now, there's some interesting mechanics with this game where your models don't really die, I believe. I forget like exactly how it works, but basically the I think they can kind of like they can come back, they get reinforced, but also you can almost, I think you almost might magnetize what would be, I forget what they're called, but like jacks. Think of them as jacks from War Machine. You can kind of magnetize them and you can upgrade their different weapons and things. I'll be perfectly honest, when I saw the demo game that the Privateer Press did, it didn't really grab me. However, the miniatures do look beautiful. It might be something that's more up your street, but it's if you're not aware of it, it's certainly something to look out for. Privateer Press makes some fantastic minis. But yeah, I can't speak for the gameplay. I wasn't hugely impressed by the gameplay video, but maybe I just wasn't paying full attention at the time. But I must admit, I do quite like the minis. James says, I like the word dramatically. I think I'll use that more often, mate, to be fair. Jim says, Starbreach looks interesting. I know you said you don't really like mini-agnostic games, but have you checked out War Surge? I've not even heard of War Surge, mate. It says you build your units however you want, using whatever models you want. That's the bit that scares me to death and puts me off miniature-agnostic games. The open-endedness of it. I actually prefer it when it's a bit more kind of constrained. John says, you're talking about movies, I think, there, aren't you? Bruce says, all Warcaster minis, metal or plastic? They're metal, I believe. I'm pretty sure they're metal. I don't think they're resin. Most Privateer Press stuff's metal, to be fair, isn't it? Let's have a look and see what... if we go to the store... actually, let's go to store, new release, games. Where is it? Is it called Warcaster? Yeah, let's have a look in the starter sets and see if it actually tells you. See if it tells you what they're made of. Metal, mate. Yeah, material, metal. So yeah, if you're into metal minis, this might be right up your street. If you're not into metal minis, this might not be what you're looking for. But some of the models are really nice. I like the look of them. It's not quite the Infinity vibe that I really like. I like, but it's along those lines, to be fair. Tony says, painted up a Neo Mechanica mini, they're metal. Yeah. And I think you guys are chatting about Star Trek and stuff now as well. Yes. So, those folks are all the sci-fi games that I kind of like that came to mind. I'm sure I've missed hundreds of games out. However, that is a real kind of... I think I've probably spoke for over an hour about different games there, but yeah, there's loads of sci-fi stuff out there. There's way more than you imagine on first glance. Just get the chat back up here as well. Tony said, I know bug all about the game though. Yeah. Must Contain Mini says, Privateer Press used to be everywhere I live. The new Warcaster stuff looks neat. When I first kind of started playing miniatures games, War Machine was huge. I played War Machine and Hordes for quite a number of years, and I did enjoy playing it back in Prime 2. But I think it feels like those particular games had seen their better days, and Warcaster is really Privateer Press trying to kind of recapture their glory days again as well. I've not really kind of seen much more about it, but like I say, I watched the demo stream that they did, and maybe it was just like I say, maybe I might have watched it in bed, kind of half asleep, but I didn't really enjoy the demo. It's one of those games I think you get a real experience from actually trying it out for yourself. Monteg says, have you heard about Obsidian Protocol? It's a mech duel game in the future. Never heard of it, mate. Never heard of it. Bruce says, did you talk about Mercs 2 being picked up and doing a 2.5? I've never even heard of Mercs, mate. I don't know anything about it. Jamie Morasco says, late at the stream, I hope everyone is doing well. I'm sure you all brought up Infinity by Corvus Belly. I did, mate. Yeah, I covered Infinity and Code 1 and Aristia as well. and everybody else is still talking about other bits and pieces too. So, folks, VGA says, any chance of a roundup of this like ship-based combat games, both space and fantasy? Yeah, I'm sure we can do like sort of naval combat or kind of air combat. I suppose you've got like things like Blood Red Skies, which is air combat. You've got X-Wing, which is space combat, and Armada. And you've got things like, what's it called again? You've got Dystopian Wars, and you've got Armada as well. So yeah, I'm sure you could probably do it. Rob says, no Kill Team. Do you know what it is, mate? I actually had Kill Team, and I had 40k on my list as well. But I guess at the end of the day, everybody knows about those games. You don't really need me to tell you about them. And I did mention Necromunda at the start. But yeah, Kill Team is kind of skirmish based, and 40k is obviously a bit more sort of mass battle type thing, or much bigger battles. But yeah, I'm sure if you're into miniature gaming, you know all about Kill Team and 40k. I actually just forgot. It's on my list. I just forgot to open up a tab for it, to be fair. Storm Shroud said, I'm new here. Sorry if you said before, but is BlackJack Legacy a Lost Fleet BlackJack Geary reference? It's not, mate. No, I've no idea what Lost Fleet is, to be fair. It's nothing to do with that. Just kind of, it's almost a random name, to be fair, mate. Tony Boovleiden, hello, mate. He said, I've been listening while throwing a bit of paint on the vague direction of Curse City zombies. They're a bit busy, but I reckon they'll look good when finished. I'm sure you'll do them good justice, mate. Lord Maiden says, Mercs is like 6-model futuristic corporation skirmish game. Unfortunately, very hard to get in the UK. I'm assuming that's why I've probably never heard of it, mate. Jim says, Warfleet FTL is one-page rules spaceship battle game. I've not heard of that, mate. Again, these games tend to be miniature agnostic. I tend not to kind of, they're generally not on my radar most of the time. Busey said, box set day on Warhammer Fest is going to be interesting for me. Do you know what? I think the thing with boxed sets is they can't not talk about Cursed City. They can't avoid the question. I mean, today's chat, if anybody saw the Warhammer Fest thing today about AOS, people in the chat were absolutely spamming stuff about like Cursed City. Some of it was a bit of a piss take. Some of it was genuine questions like, are you not going to like tell us what's happening with it? And it was just completely ignored. So I assume that they're going to have to say something, because it's very telling if they say nothing at all on the boxed games one. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's just going to be Necromunda Hive Wars, and they just, because I think that the streams are only about an hour, so I wouldn't surprise me if they talk about that. They might potentially talk about Kill Team 2.0. But other than that, can I see any other box games coming out? I can't. I'm sure there'll be something, but at the minute, it's probably not their priority. Warwick says the Aeronautica GW game looks cool. Nice minis, but had to pass it as I have too many. Yeah, it's a game I'd like. Again, another one I'd like to actually try, have a game of, but it's not something I necessarily kind of had to rush to buy or anything like that. Paul said Mercs had some really nice miniatures, similar sort of style to Infinity, but the makers went bust. Yeah, like I say, I'd never heard of it, mate. I maybe if I saw kind of like some artwork or some minis, it might ring a bell, but the name doesn't kind of shout at me a bit. Vijay says maybe a sports game roundup, as long as you talk about Blitzball the most, and never mention Blood Bowl. James says it's like BlackJack, but between games you tear up cards, add new ones to the deck, and come up with new rules, making the target 22. Where are we up to? Jason says, cheers Andy, top selection there. Thank you very much, mate. Bombsy says, I'll buy anything in a box. I know what you mean, mate. I'm a sucker for starter sets and stuff like that as well. Busey saying, hearing a lot about one-page rules recently. We'll have to check it out. It just goes to show, mate, marketing works. Like I say, they've been around for ages, but they're spending a bit of money at the minute. They're essentially they're paying YouTubers to kind of to promote their product. So that's why I think they're starting to get around. Like people like Luke from Geek Gaming has done a few one-page rules videos, and they've all been paid promotions. So ER910 says GW announced a couple of box games that look like Kill Team and Warcry on an Underworlds board. Yeah, they did a little while ago, mate, didn't they? I think that's kind of old news now. I wouldn't expect them to talk about them ones this week, but who knows, if they're a bit light on content, it wouldn't surprise me. Barry Cliver says, better late than never. Nice to see you, fella. John says, I have a rule, never watch anything with Will Smith. Oh, you're missing out on some decent films, mate, to be fair. Spanky Tarzan says, one-page rules have gained a lot of traction since they started doing STL files for their games. Yeah, I think this is what I mean about if companies have a model line that goes with a rule set, they generally do better. That's always kind of, I've always said that. Yeah, VJ says, I heard about one-page rules a while back, but yeah, the big marketing push and the Patreon stuff is getting a lot more coverage. Yeah, definitely, mate. Palmsy's saying, I think the new boxes will appeal to new gamers that appear to be a trend. The box games that E0910's talking about are kind of like the games that they sell like only in Barnes and Noble in the US. It's that kind of market they're aiming at with these box sets. So I wonder when Wargames Atlantic will make Death Fields. Yeah, another one that's passed by me. Don't know anything about that one. Rob says, Fast Panda, BlackJack for some Code 1 will get my views. Yeah, I'm sure we can sort something out. I'm sure we can get together at some point and get some coverage in. Now the world's starting to unlock its chains a little bit. Right, folks, my throat is really dry. I've got a little bit of cold coffee left here that I'm going to drink because my throat is really sore. So, oh God, that is awful. Ugh. Cold coffee. Who drinks iced coffee? Busey says, if the rules are actually on one page, then I'm in. Do you know what it is, mate? I've got no idea if they actually are or not. Jim says, so what's the first game you're going to play on stream? I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if I'll play a game on stream. I'll certainly record them. It'll have to be something I kind of know inside out, because trying to play a game and get camera angles and keep an eye on the chat, it'll have to be something I know inside out. So potentially it could be Warcry or something like that. Spanky Tarzan says, damn you GW, just make Blitzball accessible in the UK. I'm massively fortunate. I managed to get my hands on one. Thank you very much to Barry Cliver over in the States who sorted me out with one. EO910 says, I drink coffee cold and hot, don't hate. I do hate. I've just tried it. It's awful. Yeah, God, I don't like the taste of that, to be fair. Yeah, so what time is it? We've got like 15 minutes until we normally close out the stream. I've got no idea how many viewers we've had tonight. I've not really been looking. I hope that hopefully the stream's been nice and stable and stuff like that. Hope it's not been too much of an issue. It looks like it's been fine. And I'll have to kind of do some digging as to why it was giving me a few little a few bits of concerns when we first started. But no, it looks fine. It looks fine. It looks all right at the minute. Well, I think at our peak we had about 114 on the stream tonight when it was peaking. That's not too bad. Kenneth Paulson says Zone Alpha is a great game. If you're like, I forgot to put Zone Alpha on. I knew there was a one I was missing. Yeah, Zone Alpha gets a lot of good rules. It gets a lot of good press as well. It's one of those games that's written, has published by Osprey Games with the blue covers. And again, it's another miniature agnostic game. But yeah, it definitely gets some good love as well. Barry says, Blitzball rocks, happy to share the love. Thank you, mate. Thank you very much. Storm Shroud says, I'm the Storm Shroud from Fast Panda Gaming. There you go, mate. That'll be a why then. VJ says, Uncle Adam loves banging on about Zone Alpha. Yeah, he's a big fan of it at the minute, isn't he, mate? He's quite getting into his sort of indie games at the moment. Vorpal Bite says, set faces to deep fry. Spanky Tarzan says another vote for Zone Alpha and Hardwired. I don't know what Hardwired is. I've not heard of that one. Palmsy, says I would order that new Necromunda box, but living in Spain I can't be asked with the stock drama. Yeah, do you know what it is? It's one of those things where I look at it and I thought, well, you know, everything you need's in the box. It might be a good shot. And then I look at it and I think I've still got the last Necromunda box, like, and I've done nothing with it. Like, do not kid yourself. You are not going to play this. Lord Tetrapan says, stream is fine, very interesting, damn good chat too. I'm glad you're enjoying it, mate, and I'm glad everything seems to be working. We're still kind of ironing out a few gremlins and stuff at the minute, and getting, like, obviously I've kind of sort of making sure all the cables and everything else have all been kind of working, and a few technical gremlins. There's been a little bit of upgrade on the PC front as well with a different what they call it, a different capture card in the PC as well. So yeah, so there's all sorts of things that's kind of have to be reset and have to be checked and stuff. Lazy Pirate says, loving the new studio, mate. Top work. Thank you very much. Hugely appreciated. Jim says, what about Fallout Wasteland Warfare? I've only seen it in ads and stuff. I don't know much about the game, mate. You can play it solo, you can play it co-op. But I don't know much more than that. It seemed to be kind of popular for a while, and then it seems to have fell off the earth. But it's obviously still available. Modifius still make it and sell it. They've been selling some STL files as well for folks to print terrain, but I think they're very expensive, or they're more expensive than kind of other companies, if you like. But I must admit, I don't know anything at all about it. Busey says sound is better from the last stream though. From the last stream. To be honest, mate, I might have it turned up a little bit too loud. I can see it's kind of maxing out a little bit. It's potentially just a little bit loud, I think. But I'll look back anyway. I'll play it back and I'll check. Like I say, I've pulled all the cables and everything out as well, so it could be anything, to be fair. Fiji says, I'm more like you. I need something to match in the law and minis to trigger my creativity. Yeah, I like when people say, oh, like miniature agnostic games, you can just take anything you want. For me, that's actually a negative. Like the idea of it being really open-ended, I've said loads of times, I'm not a huge fan of list building and stuff like that. And actually, by having something a little more restrictive, if you like. So, for example, if you say, well, this is your faction, these are the models you can choose from, this is how you build a list. Like that, to me, narrows it down, and then I kind of pick the models I like the look of, and I make a list up with the cool stuff. Like ruler cool is more important to me. If you've got a miniature agnostic game where you basically just take anything, it's almost like you kind of analysis paralysis type thing. Like, because you've got so much choice, it's like saying, which of these 5 films do you want to watch tonight? It's dead easy to pick one. The other one is, right, you've got Netflix, you've got Amazon Prime, you've got like Now TV, you've got all these different streaming services, Disney Plus. What do you want to watch? You go, well, I don't really know. That's kind of how I see that type of stuff. I like to have a world that's being kind of created, and that world pulls me in, and some really nice minis that I like the look of and I'm going to enjoy painting, and they pull me in, and then I kind of look at the rules and say, oh, well, you know, I can get my head around them. So for me, it's part of the whole package. It's not just about, oh, well, these rules say I can use anything. That's kind of where I am. Barry says, my son plays Fallout, hard game to get your head around, lots of custom dice and things. To be honest, the custom dice and stuff is one of the things that kind of put me off Call to Arms, the Elder Scrolls game, a little bit, the Skyrim game, because it seemed like there was a hell of a lot of dice involved, and custom ones. Vijay says, yeah, sound is less echoey than the last time, probably due to more stuff. Yeah, so like I say, I've got boxes and stuff down there and that now. There's more things to deflect the sound in different directions and stuff. Or Busey saying the sound is better. Sorry, I thought you said the sound was worse, mate. I wasn't sure if I'd done something wrong. Tony says, Fallout does look interesting, but minis are tricky to source in the UK. I've hunted. Same problem with Dust. It's interesting, mate, because the Fallout ones shouldn't be difficult. The company is in the UK. Modifius are based down in London. So I'm surprised to hear that they're difficult to get. But then I've never looked for them. So, yeah. John says, I last played... My vinyl copy was around 2002. We still had a stereo set up. My vinyl collection of blues and classic rock is languishing in the basement. Get it out, mate. Get it out. Paul says, just because a game is miniature agnostic doesn't really mean take what you want. Ideally, you need to have some kind of setting in mind before you start. Yeah, I get that, mate. I just think it's the setting needs to pull me into the game as opposed to creating my own setting. I'm not that kind of game. I like some. It's like if I'm going to watch a film and I'll read the blurb about what the film's about and I'll think, oh, that sounds pretty good. I'll watch that. That's kind of how my mind works with games and stuff. It's like I'll read the kind of the background lore and stuff and think, oh, I like the sound of that. I'm quite a narrative gamer, really, and I like to play those stories out in my head. But I like those stories to be set in a rich world. I don't want to spend like all my time coming up with all those ideas myself. Do you know, if that makes sense? VJ saying, yeah, I need something to start with and then create from there. It's like my motion design work. I know what you mean. I'm exactly the same. It's like when it comes to making videos for me and stuff, coming up with the ideas is a hard part for me. But once I get an idea, then I can kind of craft around it, and then I think about what I can do this shot. I'll talk about that. I'll paint it this way. But getting the actual idea is the hard part. Gold member, worst Bond film ever. Yeah, thank you very much for your gold support, mate. Thank you. Jim says, here's why I like mini agnostic stuff. I typically haven't owned enough of any one game set to be able to play full games. I blame my hobby hyperactive attention span. The thing is, mate, I tend to avoid those games where you need lots of minis. It's why I enjoy games like Warcry, why I enjoy games like Vanguard, like Armada, like those types of things, because you don't need a lot of stuff. I love Malifaux for the same reason. You don't need lots of stuff. Wild West Exodus. These are games where you can get away with having like 10 models. Like, if you haven't got the sort of the attention span, if you like, or the will to paint a big army, maybe big army games are not for you. Where were we up to here? St. Louis Keith, hello mate, how by the way. He said, I didn't like the uncertainty of the 20 unit Frostgrave boxes. I didn't know the game and I didn't know what units to make. I'm exactly the same, mate. I love it when if you get a 2-player starter set and they're single piece plastic and they're all done, like there's no confusion. Like one of the things I used to hate about buying 40k minis was the fact is that, well, I don't know if I'm building them right. I don't know if this is the legal way to build these models. I'm just putting the cool weapons on them because I'm only painting them, kind of thing. So if I want to play the game, I don't know if I'm building them right. I don't know how many of this unit I can take, because I never bought, when I first started, I never bought those books, because basically there was no point, because by the time I ever got to play, because all I did was just sit and paint, that was all I was interested in. By the time I would have got to play the game, it probably would have been onto a new edition, so the books were almost irrelevant to me. So I used to, like, I never knew what weapons to, like, yes, this might be a legal list, but maybe it's the absolute worst way to build them, kind of thing. So there was all those kind of things that I like things to be a bit easier to kind of build. It's one of the reasons I love things like Wild West Exodus, why I love Malifaux. The models just come as a single sculpt, if you like, and I haven't got to worry about putting weapons on them and choosing different stuff. I'm not a huge enjoyer of building models. I just like painting minis, sort of enjoying myself, relaxing, chilling out, and I love rolling dice and having a bit of fun. And I'm not that interested in the kind of the outside of the game stuff. Like, I'm not that bothered about list building. I'm not that bothered about the competitive aspects. I just enjoy the social interaction of kind of rolling dice or flipping cards and playing the game. So a lot of that stuff that's one of the things that kind of puts me off a lot of the kind of the miniature agnostic stuff, because it's so open-ended, and you can have whatever you want. It's like I don't really want to have to. I don't enjoy that side of it, really. That's the biggest reason. Let me just scroll up a little bit there. I've missed some of that chat. Marcus says, well, seeing the video is almost over. May the 4th be with you. Yeah, Star Wars Day tomorrow. Spanky Tarzan says he's waiting for lockdown restrictions to lift so he can rope in more players. Nice one. Tony says, I'm surprised Fallout is UK based. I've struggled to find anything I wanted. Some Fallout stuff too. If you try the Modifius website, mate, if they don't have it, they've probably got some supply issues. But certainly sort of most of the miniature companies dotted about the UK, the kind of gaming companies, certainly used to sell it. Maybe the sales weren't great and they've decided not to, but you might be able to buy it direct from Modifius. Rob says, do you think that it's because an established background by the company is a shared community and helps with socialising? There's a big part of that, really. I mean, I'm not sort of fortunate to have a group of gamers around me who like to get involved in all of these kind of obscure rule sets, if you like. It's much easier to find somebody who we both understand this game is set in this world, these are the minis, this is the rules, this is how you play. It means I can travel anywhere around the world and play that game with somebody no matter where I am. when you start getting into this miniature agnostic stuff, I think they're great for groups of people who love to kind of to kit bash and they kind of build worlds, and maybe one of your gaming group is like almost like a DM type stuff, loves crafting the background, loves crafting the universe. Maybe somebody likes building kind of like random terrain. Maybe somebody likes painting. Maybe like if you've got a group of folks that you play with regularly, these kind of games might be exactly what you're looking for. But for me, I tend to play against random people. I go to events, I go to tournaments. I hopefully will play lots of games here, but generally against lots of different people. It just makes it much more easier when we already know in advance. Well, this is how the game plays because we all play the same thing type thing. John says the restrictions here have only really caused shops that I would shop at to be closed. I've played Gaslands with my group all through the lockdown stuff with zero issues. Yeah, we've been stuffed, mate. Basically, for the last year, you've pretty much not been able to see folks. So I've not played anything. Vijay saying it's May the 4th here. I wonder what time today the Bad Batch hits Disney. Is that when it comes on, mate? Is it? I'll have to watch. I think I'm going to renew my Disney Plus subscription, just for the Bad Batch, and then I'll catch up on Falcon and Winter Soldier as well. Lord Maiden says, I see what you mean. There seems to be no right or wrong answer for those types of games, and then it makes how the models look kind of not needed. You may as well play with army men. I mean, it's still like obviously like it's aesthetic. You play with the things that you enjoy the look of course. Paul says miniature agnostic games are intended to be played like historical games, usually published by the same companies. You choose your setting and then you buy miniatures. Yeah, I completely get that, mate, but you have to play with like an established group, or you have to play generally with the same person. Otherwise, every time you play a game, you're resetting and resetting and resetting, because it's all you need to play with people who will quite happily just wander in and go, there you go, there's your minis, I'll just teach you how to go, and then you're constantly relearning them the rules. That's one of the reasons I struggle with that kind of stuff. Andrew Fairbanks, good afternoon, sir. He says, I can relate to the whole one weapon choice for minis, but I also like a lot of the options. I just wish there were easier ways to decide them. Like as an example, I really like Infinity in the fact that you get lots of options for what you want, but if you want a model with a Borden shotgun, you buy the miniature with a Borden shotgun. And that to me just makes it easier. That way I can just buy the model, build a model and paint it like so that it looks nice. And then if I find that actually I want a different weapon, I'll go and buy a different model type thing. I like that about Warcry. Like you get a couple of options sometimes, and even in Warcry, you know, when you can either take a spear or you can take a sword, I always get caught in that kind of like, well, which one should I take? Which one's best kind of thing? Like and then I've got to try and weigh up the options a little bit. I just prefer it to be like, because I don't enjoy the building aspect. I like them to just be like, if I glue all these bits together, it'll look like that, and I don't have to worry about options. Lord Tetrapan says, if you can't laugh when you throw 4 ones, what's the point? Exactly. Fiji says, I think the channel needs, and this is what Andy thinks about miniature agnostic games boilerplate. Warwick says, go direct to Midifierce and email them if you can't find something. The folks answering emails are pretty amazing. John says, the most annoying thing in the last 14 months is winning $500 cash from an instant lottery ticket and not being able to go to a store and buy what I want because of lockdowns. Yeah, I can imagine, mate, yeah. Mini Warmwood, nice to see you. Says, need to check out Wiry Games, great skirmish system, only a 5-man gang and group. You pick traits for each mini from a list provided. Could play any genre. Never heard of it, mate. I'll have to check it out. Spanky Tarzan says, don't worry, Andy, soon enough I'll drag you along to our club in Wallsend and you can meet a bunch of obscure players. Jim says, whoever suggested Hardwired, thank you, it looks awesome. A nice one. Jess says, I'm that person. I love adding a setting in that for games, creating my world for folks to play in. Like I say, I think if you're playing like with sort of the same 2 or 3, 4 people all the time, it's like if you're playing Necromunda, for example, and you're really invested in the campaign, and you're upgrading characters and all that kind of stuff, I can imagine those types of games work really well. But if you're playing generally random people, you kind of have to go with rule sets that are established, basically. Paul says it's hard to say stuff with 200 characters, but what you said is also correct. Miniature agnostic games don't travel well. They're aimed more at clubs or groups of friends. Yeah, and I think that's it. It's not that I don't like miniature agnostic games. I'm sure they're really fun rule sets. I just find that it's too much of an investment in time and effort to basically play one game, because then next time I'll play maybe with that same person, might not be for a little while, and they might want to play something different because they'll have games that they like. Or if I'm going to if I want to go to like an event, or if I want to go, for example, if I go to like a Mantic Open Day, I'm not going to play those kind of rule sets. If I'm going to go to like some kind of gaming event, the chances are that the games are already kind of set as what's going to be played. So it's not that I'm against these rule sets and stuff. I just find that it's too much effort to play one-off games for me personally. VJ says, by the way, I love the Thor statuette. Very cool. It was a gift from my brother and sister-in-law about 2 or 3 Christmases ago. VJ says he's got the Groot and Rocket one, the same set. Black Rose Smithy says, Zoom has been a godsend for our club. We've played weekly throughout lockdown. Skirmish type games have worked really well for this. Out of 3 to 5 different members. I'm really glad to see folks are trying to like work around it somehow. That's been good. Andrew says, Wallet's about to take a hit from all the new AOS stuff. There is some nice stuff in that list today. There's some stuff that I wasn't overly impressed with, but yeah, there's some nice stuff. VG says the new Vampire Centaur things. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. Lazy Pirate says, but in Stargrave you're limited to your crew. There's about 20 options of troops that you can have and their set equipment. The only thing you need to sort out is your captain and first mate. Yeah, and to be fair, I don't know a lot about Stargrave, mate, and I like the fact that North Star Miniatures have made some minis that almost kind of like fit those crews, if you like, and maybe it's something I'll take a look at. The difference is I still have to find somebody to play with, and again, if you're playing, it doesn't feel like the kind of game to play one-off games of. Paul says, if someone ran a game for you with no investment required from you beyond the time required to play, would you play it? Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I will play any game. I'll give any game a try. It's not a case of like, I am not anti sort of miniature agnostic games or anti historical games or anything like that. It's just that you have to understand that there is a lot of time and effort and investment to put into any game if you're going to start it from scratch. So you've got to learn rules, you've got to get minis, you've got to paint minis, there's all these different things. You then have to find somebody else to play the game with. They have to be equally invested in it as well. Or you have to do all of the work for them. And when there is so many games already out there that have done some of that work for you already, by the fact that there's a world being set up, there's a lore, there's a background that's really rich and interesting. The minis, I don't have to worry about list building, because it's kind of like, if you take this model as your leader, this is your choice of other stuff. Like, it's that they're just more accessible for me. So when people say like miniature agnostic games and these rule sets are perfect for beginners because you can just use what you want, I actually see them as not perfect for beginners. They're more complicated because unless you have a miniature background, a miniature gaming background, the kind of the open-endedness or the kind of like the sheer amount of options is actually off-putting to new players. So I think it's the kind of thing that once you've played a few games, you might want to go off down that route and use minis that you've been buying for other stuff. But yeah, if somebody said, look, I've set this game up, I've got a couple of factions, do you want to have a try? Absolutely. There's no game that I wouldn't try. I'd be stupid not to try something, like just like for the sake of it. Do I want to spend my money and invest time and money into something that I'm not 100% kind of invested in? That's a different question. Andy Smith, hello mate, how are you doing? He says, have I seen Storm Shroud and Fast Panda? You have, mate. They've both been around tonight. Fiji says it was his gift from his brother-in-law too. Busey says, have you had any more use on the Neptune 2 yet? They're in stock at the moment on Amazon. I've not made. I literally haven't done any 3D printing in weeks. I've been spending all my time in here. Like I say, I've got a little space next door, the other side of the wall, to set up my 3D printing stuff, so that the bedroom upstairs can have its ensuite bathroom back. And once I get it set up, I'll probably start printing some stuff off and getting back to my bits and pieces, do some more terrain and set it away and things. Because it's one of those things that once you've set it away, you just kind of leave it. I literally haven't had 5 minutes to do it. So yeah, I'm happy with the printer. I'm really impressed with the quality of what it puts out for the price. I've just not had a chance to use it, mate, really. Fat Cat says, good night all, stay safe. Thank you very much, mate. You too, take care. VJ says, yeah, buy-in, time investment doesn't feel really sparked by the miniature agnostic games. Yeah, and to be honest, I'm a bit of a sucker for a bit of marketing as well. If somebody's showing off some really cool minis, or somebody's made some nice trailer, a cartoon kind of animation thing or something like that, that's going to get me interested as well. There's all these things, add them up together. If a company's gone to the lengths of hiring writers that come up with really rich backgrounds, I love it, the Infinity background, I love the Malifaux background, I love Wild West Exodus background and the Lost World Exodus, I love Kings of War background. There's so many rich sort of backgrounds where not only can I kind of just read about them on the website, they've wrote novels about the games. There's graphic novels and things like that. There's a whole world I can kind of immerse myself in that isn't there in those kind of games. And if I've only got so much time on my hands and I've got to spend my money somewhere, that's what leads me down that path, I suppose. Rob's saying you need to edit all this agnostic talk into a video and just point people to it when it comes up. John says, whoa, you've gone over time. Thanks for the stream, the chat, and thanks for the great people. I have gone over a little bit. We'll start to wrap it up when I get to the end of these few bits of chat comments. Black Rose Smithy says, 2 fat lardies have been putting on a day called Online Lard. The 6th one will be in June, I think, all via Zoom. You have to sign up for free on the Discord and choose the games you want. I've not played anything really kind of over Zoom, to be fair. Bryce, I've been hearing there's a resin shortage. Is it affecting your 3D printing, guys? I've not bought any, mate, to be fair. I've not bought any more, so I've got no idea if there's been a shortage or not. Lazy Pirate says, you've got to play what you fancy, really. But yes, I agree. Figure agnostic games, I think, are better for long-term gamers, as we have loads of figures already. And by the way, it's Steve. That'll be why they made it. Nice to see you, fella. And yes, I think that wraps it up. Spanky Tarzan says, when I first moved to Wall's End, it was up by the Powder Monkey. I passed the Powder Monkey yesterday, mate. I went to B&M looking for really useful boxes. Just changed my handle and started my own YouTube channel. Nice one, mate. I look forward to hearing it. Spanky Tarzan says, I may be the reason for the resin shortage. On that bombshell, as they would say, we'll call that one a night. Thank you very much, folks. Really appreciate everybody coming in tonight. It's been a bit of a lively chat, really, and it was nice to go over some different bits and pieces. I always I sometimes find it tough to come up with topics for the Monday nights, especially if I don't have a lot of time during the day to do the research and stuff, because obviously I'm still trying to get this finished. This week, this will all be finished, 100%. I've got myself a deadline. It's all going to be done this week. So next week, we should start to get back to normal proper videos, having sort of proper topics for on a Monday night with clips videos for the Tuesday for those that don't kind of catch up. We'll start to see some battle report type stuff coming through. We'll start to see the painting on the Wednesdays getting back to normal and things. So yeah, I appreciate that you may not have you might be expecting a bit more from me when it comes to kind of the channel and the videos and stuff. So I appreciate you your patience, and I appreciate you sticking with me. It's all going to be worth it. I've kind of obviously had to plow that time into improving and kind of and moving on to the next stage. So yeah, thanks for sticking with me. Thank you to all my Patreons who stuck me through this as well. Thank you to the new Patreons as well. Spanky Taz, was it just start with? I think it was it Spanky Taz that just joined tonight? Was it Martin? I think it was, yeah. Yes, thank you very much, folks. I will see you all on Wednesday for the hobby hangout. We should be in the new end of the studio. I've had to do a little bit of a kind of a rejig around here, but we'll be doing the painting from in here as well. So yeah, I will see you all on Wednesday. Take care, folks. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month,
and there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.